everybody. Late afternoon. Let's take a look here. Welcome to yet another. Let's take a look here. I got some messages coming in. Yet another show. Friday, we do our weeklies, and then on Sundays, we do our couple hour long shows. Let's see if Alex is able to join us. Let's make sure we're good on this end here. Mr. Alex will be joining us today. Let's see, maybe this is what we're gonna do. Let's go like this. Alex, let's see, I think I have to let him in the chat here. Are you with us? Doesn't look like he is. Okay. Well, he'll join us when he joins us. Thank you for everyone who has joined the live stream. Sorry for being late today. Let's see here. Let me just message Alex. He had a story for you guys that he wanted to cover, and so he got in touch with me earlier today and over the last few days on the weekend, making sure that he would be here. So thank you for everybody who's stopping by. Got an interesting show today. Actually, the leading story. Oh, you are here. Okay, so Alex is here. I just don't see you. There it is. Okay, now it's allowing me to do it. There he is. Benedauer. There he is. How's it going? Yeah, your beard grew.
Yeah, I let it.
Nice, man. Very cool. Well, the leading story of the day was created today because it's something that I wanted to cover, and I'll probably do a weekly video on that one as well, or just some sort of separate video on this as well. So because the entirety of our stories was going to be quite different. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about the petroleum dollar, the petrodollar, the 50-year-old contract that's up today, June 9th, 2024. So I wanted to talk to you guys about that and with the types of implications it's going to have on the general economy in America, as well as the trucking industry. Alex, have you heard about this stuff? Have you seen this in the news?
Really, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm really surprised. There's not a lot of talk about it. And I'm surprised that no one was talking about it prior. Let me raise your volume there. Prior to it. But yeah, we had a 50-year contract, and basically it was saying that, you know, the petroleum, oil products, things like that could be only sold using US dollars. And that became basically the reserve currency. So in 1972, we went off the gold standard and went into fiat currency without any backing outside of the goodwill of the United States and his willingness to repay its debts. 2 years later, we signed an agreement with the Saudis saying that, you know, all transactions globally for oil trade would be using the US dollars. Well, that expires today, 50 years later. So that was 1974. Might be today at midnight. Try to correct this. I think it's a little, I might make it worse. There we go.
Is the chat working on your side?
The chat, no, there's nobody. I don't see anything in the chat. So maybe what I got to do is refresh it or something. Refresh chat. That usually will get things rolling. So hopefully everybody's in the chat, can see everything. Got multi-stream. Oh, I forgot to turn on the. Let's go live on Instagram.
I don't see it properly on the YouTube. I don't see it.
You don't even see it on YouTube too, huh? Okay. Let's take a look here. See what we got. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. There's been some issues with YouTube lately. We got just a handful of viewers right now. Okay, so now the chat is refreshing. If you guys get a chance, you guys drop something in the chat. We just want to make sure it's working because it's telling me sign into chat, but whenever I do that, it doesn't actually make any difference. There it is. Howdy, Lord Apprentice. Thank you so much for that. The chat is working. Thank you for testing it for us. So we'll jump into the story. Again, apologies for no music for intros, no music for outros, being very, very late, but it's going to be worth it. So thank you for sticking around these last 3-4 minutes. There they are. Yeah, I can see. We hear you. Thank you very much, Judy. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Lord Apprentice. Appreciate that. Unless I said it wrong. Yeah, Apprentice. There you go. Guys, so if the 50-year-old petroleum agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia were to end, which is today, and by the way, they have decided not to renew because they want to keep their options open in terms of being able to trade in the yuan, using the RMB, using other currencies, crypto, anything like that, outside of the United States dollars. They can continue to trade in the United States dollars. And one of the interesting things that I've actually noticed is that the decline in the amount of reserve, US dollars in reserve. Oh, hello.
I'm having some issues. Hold on.
So countries kept money in reserve, you know what I mean? In order to buy, products, oil, gas, whatever might be the case, for import, export, buying and selling, they had to keep some US dollars available. And, all those countries, Russia and China, they've been reducing their reserves of US dollars. That's important. However, the biggest reduction that I saw was actually in India, because they were somewhere like $860 billion in reserves, and now they're at like $860 million in reserves. So there's a 90% decline. Why is that? Do they not plan to use U.S. currency for, for trade, things like that? So those are all telltale signs. Again, I'm very surprised that no one's really talked about this in the news. The media has been really hush-hush about it. And to be honest with you, I think I'm taking a very big hit on this because the last video I made was about big oil, and I talked about that, and that video just went nowhere. I did everything in terms of SEO, optimization, thumbnails, the keywords, blah, 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 all the stuff that goes into getting these videos to go viral and get lots of views, and we got nowhere with it. And I think part of the reason for that is because, there are certain keywords, certain things we should be talking about, and it gets cut off. So that may happen here as well. But this is also where if you guys come in, if you guys share these videos, things like that, then it kind of propagates and pushes it forward. So with everybody in the chat, if you guys could just hit the like button, that also helps a lot. If you haven't done it, please just do that, and I'll ask you guys to do that throughout the video. So if the 50-year-old petrodollar, if the agreement falls between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, if it were to end, it would have a profound effect. It would have profound implications for both the trucking industry and a general American economy. So here's how it would affect each. And so what I did is I actually had to go through a lot of material. And we're probably not going to cover most of this because I think I overdid it. Because a lot of articles were not talking about, they were talking about other things. And it was just really funny because Google as a search engine couldn't find what you're looking for as if these things don't exist. And, I know how to use Google pretty well, like with advanced searches, and still wasn't really coming up. And I'm thinking, there's just no way no one's talking about this. What, Bloomberg? Nobody? MSNBC? Anybody from either side of the aisle? No one's talking about it. So the impact on the trucking industry, we'll start with that first, and then we'll move on to the general tendency for the United States. Number one is going to be fuel prices, and what we mean by that is increased fuel costs. They will be going up. The end of the petrodollar agreement could lead to a decrease in global demand for U.S. dollars, causing the dollar to weaken. As oil prices are traditionally denominated in dollars, a weaker dollar could lead to higher oil prices. Consequently, diesel prices would rise, significantly increasing fuel costs for truckers. What does that mean? Truckers are going to have to increase pricing or go out of business. One of the two. Now, there's volatility also. The transition to pricing oil in multiple currencies could introduce significant volatility in fuel prices, making it challenging for trucking companies to predict and manage fuel expenses. That's already hard enough as it is with the fuel prices as they are today. Number two, in terms of the trucking industry's impact, would be operational costs, right? Higher costs for parts and equipment. Many parts and equipment used in the trucking industry are imported. A weaker dollar would make these imports more expensive, increasing the operational costs for trucking companies. Pretty straightforward. Increased freight rates. Everybody's been waiting on this one, right? So to cope with rising operational costs, trucking companies might have to increase freight rates. This could lead to higher costs of shipping goods, affecting supply chains. And then me and Alex have to pay more for bells and whistles. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Really unfortunate. Finally, number three, third point is the economic
So
uncertainty.
you'll have to pay me more.
Never. I'll just send you more bells and whistles of the highest quality.
Yep.
Economic uncertainty, kind of what Alex touched on. Investment hesitancy. So we're talking about economic instability, and a weakened dollar might actually lead to hesitancy in making new investments in the trucking industry. This could slow down the adoption of new technology and infrastructure improvements. All right, so we have already an infrastructure is falling apart. The last thing we want to do is limit that. Now, the impact on the general American economy would be inflation. Very similarly would be rising prices. So a weaker dollar typically leads to higher import prices, contributing to inflation. As the cost of goods increases, the purchasing power of consumers decreases, leading to a potential slowdown in economic growth. All right, that's the second hint. The cost of living. The general cost of living would rise as essential goods, including food and energy, become more expensive due to increased transportation and import costs. Now, let me ask you this. Is it just a coincidence that a couple of years ago, the CPI numbers were edited and they do not include the cost of food and energy? The very two things that have gone up in price more than anything else. Yeah, and housing, separate. That's why they have the core CPI. But they always talk about the CPI when it's beneficial and the core CPI when that's beneficial. Well, what this is going to drive is trade deficits. So worsening trade deficits, a weaker dollar might not sufficiently boost exports to offset the increased cost of imports, potentially worsening U.S. trade deficit. Market volatility in a financial markets could experience increased volatility due to the uncertainty surrounding the end of the petrodollar system. This could lead to fluctuations in stock prices, interest rates, and overall market confidence. Now, imagine what that would do to the industry and to our general economy currently when we already have very expensive dollars, very expensive financing. And the market's just been going up and up and up and up. There are a generation of kids out there who became older, and they're trading stocks, crypto, and all kinds of stuff, and they've never seen a down market. They just think markets always go up. So, and that's what we're seeing right now. Now, with this, you would have all these fluctuations in stock pricing, like it says, interest rates, overall market confidence would probably tank, and we would see some major changes in our entire market and industry. Now, the final thing would be, or one of the things would be economic power shift. So, global economic position. We're talking about global powers here. We're talking about BRICS nations. We're talking about, Brazil. We're talking about Russia. We're talking about China. Who are the BRICS nations? I forget. South America. No, not South America. South Africa. Not South America. So economic power shift, don't need the wrong guys, right? Global economic position. The end of the petrodollar agreement could signify a shift in global economic power. Countries may start holding more diverse reserves, reducing their reliance on the U.S. dollar. This could diminish the economic influence of the United States on the global stage. We've gotten used to getting cheap crap sent to us and being the reserve currency, being the top dog. It's gonna be if this goes through, and that goes through today, it's gonna be a shift. It's gonna be a major shift. Something that we're gonna have to get used to. Now, from the governmental policy response side of things, you're looking at monetary policy changes. We're talking about Federal Reserve. They might respond to a weaker dollar and rising inflation with tightening monetary policies, such as raising interest rates. Everybody's waiting for those to go down so they can get themselves a house and refinance it or whatnot. But ultimately, it could go the other direction, completely pricing out the majority of the population and being able to, we might end up having to finance our sandwiches. That's how bad it would get. You know what I mean? Buy it on credit. We already have a younger generation buying groceries on credit cards, paying interest on groceries. It's atrocious. So this could definitely slow economic growth, potentially lead to a recession. The other thing would be on the government policy side, it would be fiscal policy. So the U.S. government might actually increase spending to mitigate the impact on consumers and businesses, leading to higher fiscal deficits. Well, we saw that over the last 4 years. What did that do, right? So we could see more of the same. Plus all the other instability being that this is, an election year.
You're right, but yeah, there is a chance that we could see another hyperinflation.
Absolutely. Well, technically, we didn't see hyperinflation.
No,
but you're right.
U.S. no, but there have been a lot of cases of hyperinflation within South America, for example.
Oh yeah. Look at Greece.
Aware.
Look at Greece. Look at some of the other some of the EU countries. It's been insane.
Also, there are a lot of Colombia had that problem for a long time. Venezuela had the problem. So there are a lot of South American countries that had that kind of problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in overall, the end of the petrodollar agreement would have far-reaching and potentially severe implications for both the trucking industry and the broader American economy. No matter how we cut this, it's going to cost Americans, because if truckers are making more money because the rates are up, then consumers are paying more money because truckers are making more money. That's what it comes down to. Transportation cost, production, manufacturing, all of those things trickle down to the consumer, and it's going to end up having to be us. So higher fuel prices, increased operational costs, they could strain the trucking industry, while inflation, market volatility, and a potential economic power shift could challenge the general economy. Adaptation to these challenges would require strategic responses from businesses, policymakers, and financial institutions to mitigate the negative impacts and stabilize the economy. So a whole bunch of word salad there, but you guys get the idea. How do you guys feel about that? Looks like we got some new comments in a section there. We could see hyperinflation. Mike Poor was saying that. We could see hyperinflation. This would be the case. And then he's saying freaking Great Depression 2.0 coming soon, if what it sounds like. So usually, guys, and I'm really trying to be careful and pick my words here, but I'm super serious, because usually this types of stuff of this magnitude would be out there. They'd be talking about it, saying, hey, we are expecting that, over the next 18 months, the agreement comes to a conclusion. Governmental bodies, federal or government, would be making deals, would be making arrangements, discussions, talks, meetings, right, to make this work. It's in the interest of the United States. But why aren't we seeing any of this stuff? Why is this being dumped on us like 2 days prior to the, why isn't it that's a topic of such high importance that's being discussed all over media, social media, news and everything? You guys can look it up. Today's the date, literally today. Might be at midnight officially. And we know that the prince chose not to renew. not to extend. So how is this not going to have an effect on us? We developed the shale technology, but we don't really use it. High pressurized, we don't get our own oil out of the ground, which we have a ton of, and we found a ton of, and we keep purchasing it and selling our LNG elsewhere. I mean, recently we stopped selling our LNG, but that's going to start up again. And our strategic petroleum reserve is pretty much bone dry. Really? While we have nuclear capable submarines that are 90 miles off the coast of Florida. Are you serious? No big deal, guys. Nothing to see here. Everything's good. Everything's cool. So yeah, I mean that's.
I think the reason they're not talking about it, to be honest, this is just my like a personal take.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
don't even
Please.
take it more seriously than that. It's just a personal take. I think because you know what it is, when something's good, they can't wait to talk about it. When something's bad, they try to avoid it as much as possible.
Exactly.
So I think it might be. I mean, this is just a personal.
It makes
view,
sense.
but I think it might be even worse than we think about.
Well, that's what I'm saying, because when you know what I mean, like it's there's a saying like still water, like usually like the craziness, like the quiet people are usually the nutty ones and stuff. It's just the kind of same logic in here. Like if it's really really bad, and they're really really, it's a big deal, but they're really really quiet about it. It's probably pretty bad. You know what I mean?
Probably.
So that's the only thing that I would say. Thank you guys so much. A ton of viewers today. I really, really appreciate it. Please, guys, smash the like button. Let's definitely get this video out there. I think this is a very, very important video. I work really hard on the content, on the material, and all this other stuff that we were going to cover today. Alex, if you don't mind, I'm going to cover one more story here real quick because we got a few things that I wanted to cover, and I'm going to let you jump in so I can take a little break and drink some ice water. You guys may have noticed I haven't been vaping. I know I was vaping constantly on show. I finally was able to quit. So, hooray, hooray, hooray.
There we go.
Thank you. So the natural thing that we got working on here is a summary of the truck transportation jobs in May of 2024. And you may be saying, Vitaly, we're in June. What are you talking about May? And what do we care about truck transportation jobs? We're owner-operators and carriers trying to make it in today's hard world. Well, there's a lot to be said here because everyone's always saying, truck driver shortage, truck driver shortage, and stuff like that. But what we actually saw is a sharp decline. The truck transportation jobs significantly decreased in May, reaching the same level as November of 2023. So if you're interested in numbers, it's 1.55 million seasonally adjusted, a major decrease. This was the third largest drop, which means that this decline was the third biggest since the pandemic recovery began in 2020. That's 4 years. Year-over-year losses compared to May 2023, just last year, year to year, there are nearly 30,000 fewer truck transportation jobs in the United States. We're strictly drivers. And the reasons for the decline are they're saying that its low spot rates are pressuring carriers to reduce driver headcount. So is there a shortage of drivers or are we reducing headcount? Which one is it, guys? You can't have both.
To be honest, this can be subjective because if you count it on the 48, it might be right. However, we all know that there are areas, for example, where there are more drivers than truck jobs, and vice versa.
That's right.
There are places, for example, let's take Colorado. Colorado is super good example. There are a lot of strong drivers and good drivers out there. They're looking for a job, but there are no jobs.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of trucking company out of Colorado.
And there's not much coming out of there except like beer cans and kegs.
And water.
And water. Well, they need water to make beer, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's
anyway, yeah, but you know what? I'm not even talking about the freight itself. I'm talking properly about the trucking companies and truckers itself and jobs. Yeah, and the thing is, like, for example, there are a lot of those states from the mountains, even the Dakotas. There are a lot of very, very strong and good drivers. There are not a lot of companies, and most of the trucking companies are trying to hire people within their state.
Sorry about that. 1 sec, man. 1 sec. Let me turn you on here. Sorry about that, Alex. You were turned off here on this thing, so that's why.
Oh, okay. So basically, what I was saying is that it technically, like, if you look at it on a 40 states, it may be true. Because let's say, for example, in a state like PA or New York or North Carolina or Florida, yeah, there are a lot of truck drivers, not that many. There are a lot of trucking companies, not a lot of truck drivers. Most of them already work. So
Yeah.
basically, there are more carriers than truckers. The other side, it comes on vice versa on the other states. But yeah.
No, it
So
definitely.
maybe yeah, on a total, it might be right, but I think it's a subject that can be interpreted very differently. Depends of where they live.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Like, I mean, these are averages, you know what I mean? And they're just looking at statistics and looking at like, well,
I'll give
where,
you a very good example. I was
yeah.
talking with a gentleman that used to work with us like 2 or 3 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken,
Hmm.
and he was trying hard to find somebody within the Dakotas, North Dakota, South Dakota, for 65 cents a mile for a drive-in,
Hmm.
and he couldn't find driver.
Wow. Well, there's a lot of people that's the case. There was a time when I was looking for a local driver here in Utah. Start at a reasonable hour, work, at most a full day shift, but usually less. Come home always before sunset, before sundown. Spend the night in your own personal bed. We paid a very healthy daily pay of like $300 to $350 a day or something like that. It was very, very good pay.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, it's very good.
freight was light. You just needed a little bit of driver assist. I couldn't find. I had a hard time finding drivers. I mean, all
Because of the
local,
drivers.
easy. Yeah, because people don't want to do it. People don't want to do it.
Yeah,
Well,
people don't want to put a little bit of bone to work.
the statistics on
Almost
this,
all men, migrants from UK and Russia, Uzbekistan, and other former
USSR
USSR
countries
countries are getting
work
welcome to
authorization.
the CDL now, and it's hundreds of thousands of people every year.
You're
I
correct.
mean,
Yeah, there is
definitely
some of
that
that.
could be a problem.
Yes, especially in a market where there's not enough to go around. Because I mean, our volume has declined considerably. So that is a part of it. And then this report that I'm referring to, as far as the truck transportation jobs for May of 2024, is actually saying that this is interesting. It says that not seasonally adjusted data shows an increase in jobs. Not seasonally adjusted. So this suggests that there's a large seasonal adjustment by the BLS, and the BLS is the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics is having to heavily adjust the numbers in order to actually show what the figures are. Now, as far as different sectors of the transportation industry, let's look at warehousing. What we're seeing, more and more viewers. Thank you so much for stopping by. I guess that thumbnail's working good. So the warehouse sector, what they're saying is a stagnant growth. Warehouse jobs saw minimum growth in May. Only about 700 jobs. That's it. With revisions lowering previous months' figures. And they're seeing increased stability in the warehouse sector because they're saying that after a volatile changes in 2023, warehouse jobs seem to be stabilizing, currently 5,200 higher than December of 2023, so over the last 6 months. The other highlights that they looked at is the transportation and warehousing unemployment rate increased to 5.5% from 4.7 in April. That is a huge, huge increase. But here's another interesting thing. This is interesting. The average weekly hours is at its lowest point in a year at 37.8 hours a week. So they're not even doing 40-hour weeks. They're not even working a 40-hour full-time job. And this is nationwide throughout the United States. As far as job seekers, they're saying that high number of job seekers registered on Indeed in transportation, almost 2.5 million people, but they're still looking for a freaking job, like Alex mentioned earlier. Denver, Colorado, paying decent money, can't find a driver. Now, as far as the average hourly wages, they're saying that it increased to a record high of $29.68 as of April. And in terms of rail jobs, those have declined slightly with a loss of about 100 jobs to the industry. So it's really a mixed bag. On the one hand, they're saying we don't have enough trucks. On the other hand, they're saying we're reducing headcount. And then at the same time, they're saying we're paying more than ever before. So it's a little confusing. And we want to know, where is this all heading? So which we'll know
And to be
in
honest,
July.
that's why it's a little confusing, because all these three things are happening at the same time. So they're not wrong, but they happen in different places.
Correct. Yeah, they're at the same time. That's why it's confusing. So you're absolutely
They're
right.
at the same time, but it happens in different places because every single part of the country struggles with different stuff. For example, Southwest struggles with finding drivers. So California carriers know very well that are having a very, very hard time finding drivers. Northwest, for example, are struggling finding work in general because there's no freight up there at
Yeah.
all right now. Like, the market is almost dried out. Montana, the same. Wyoming, the same. Utah is slightly better, but not by much. But pretty much the whole mountains and west, except California, went very, very, very down, especially in freight. Like I was talking with Joe a couple of days ago. And like before, yeah, if you were looking at an entire day, you were finding like 30 to 40 loads out of Montana. Right now, there are days that there are no postings in the whole entire day.
Wow. That's insane. That's insane.
He was not looking like, I don't know, only Billings 100 miles away, like 100 miles around. He was putting Billings, Three Forks, like all the major places.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And there's no freight. I mean, I saw the same thing out of Salt Lake. We had some customers out of here at Salt Lake, and we just couldn't get them out, and they wanted, more money for the loads. They were loads, but they wanted more money. And but in a scenario where at least you have an opportunity to go, but when you have no loads whatsoever, it makes it a little bit difficult. You know what I mean? Like just ever so slightly. No, you're
And the problem
absolutely right.
about the carriers that live in the Northwest is the problem is he doesn't pay to go into the Northwest, and neither.
Yeah. No, it is definitely a major issue, and the markets have changed considerably, like I've talked about in the previous lives, and I know we missed last week's live. I just didn't have much to share with you guys, but nonetheless, one of the things that we're noticing is that a lot of truckers are just basically they just don't know what to do there at the end, because it's been such a long, drawn out market decline, down market, that people just don't know what they're doing. Hey, Alex, at least you're having some issues with your internet today. It's kind of freezing up a little bit, and it's kind of...
Yeah, it's I don't know what's going on.
Just technical issues today? Gotcha. Well, it just kind of...
my phone fell off, and now my internet, it's crazy.
That ain't good. Well, let me do this, man. I'm going to switch to here real quick and show you guys... I guess I forgot to put your little... That's why it looks strange, your frame. Let's put the frame back around you. Oh, there you go now. It's nice and pretty again. Well, guys, I'm going to do a little ad for you guys, to those who are not aware of what it is that we do. Thank you for all the viewers. If you guys could smash the like button, really, really would help a ton. If you would please make it blue. Keep smashing it till it's blue. That would help a ton. So thank you guys for all that. But what we do, before Alex kind of shifts gears and starts talking about... let me actually move my screens. I apologize. I wasn't ready to...
Today I have something a little bit special prepared, because in this whole weeks I started to talk with some carriers and actually see a little bit what are, like, I've talked even with some company drivers, with some carriers, with some carrier owners, and I tried to find out a little bit like what would be their main concerns. And probably the way I asked them is like, if you had one question for a dispatcher, what would that be? So that's what I prepared. It's sort of
Awesome.
a Q&A with a lot of carriers that I talked with, and I selected like the most important ones so it can...
Yeah,
it
no,
makes
that's
it a little
perfect,
bit more
man.
interesting.
That's definitely what we'll cover. Before we jump in, I just want to do a quick heads up for you guys so you're aware. What it is that we actually do is 2 services. Super simple. We don't do anything outside of that. Dispatch service, for those of you guys who have your own MC, you are a carrier, having your own MC, your own trucking company, your own USDOT, you're running your own trucking company. If this is a difficult time in the market, a lot more work goes into it to be able to get you guys these loads. And unfortunately, it's not that you're, a bad negotiator or you have something wrong with you. There's nothing like that. Now, I mean, obviously some people are better than others at negotiating and making calls and talking, communicating and all those things. I get that. Or analyzing data, analyzing lanes, et cetera, and trying to make sure you get the best averages. And I get that. But the truth of the matter is that in today's market, you're just not doing yourself any favors trying to book loads inside of a cab sitting at a truck stop after you've driven all day, need a shower and some food in your tummy. So the bottom line is that you're always going to leave money on the table, and that's what we specialize. We've been doing this for over a decade. We've learned a lot. We've been through multiple market ups and downs. We have a lot of connections, and that's what we do for a lot of our carriers. We don't work with LTLs, hotshot, box trucks, Sprinter vans, any of that stuff. We only work with semi-trucks, and we'll continue to do so. So that's the truck dispatching side. You go to our homepage, aftdispatch.com, click Learn More under there, fill out your first name, MC number.
I will reconnect. I'll be right back.
Okay. Your email address and your phone number, and we'll send you information over email, create a lead, and then Alex will get in touch with you, or I'll get in touch with you. Now, on the lease owner operator side is if you don't have your own MC authority, if you're used to running under someone else's MC authority, nothing wrong with that. I think it's wonderful. It works really well. You don't have to run a trucking company. But the one thing you have to be really careful about is are they overcharging you? Are there fees that are being added onto your driver settlement report that shouldn't really be there? Are they adding additional fees, auxiliary stuff? Are they adding additional dollar amounts on your per mileage rates, like your IFTA or your IRP cap cards if you're going through the plate program through them? Things like that. Like, are you getting your IFTA reports? Are you getting all these things? And, some companies, they'll do some sort of retainers. Someone will do escrows. Other companies will do all sorts of stuff. And by the time you're ready to leave, they just hold on to your money, and they're looking for a lawsuit that most people don't go through. And then they just leave the money behind and move to another company with a very bad aftertaste. from that experience. So we don't do any of that stuff. It's a very bare bones program. You still, in both cases, work with this very same dispatchers. Alex used to be one of our dispatchers. Joe, that he mentioned earlier, is one of our dispatchers. So you guys still end up working with the very best dispatchers, very experienced guys. And the bottom line is that the costs of leasing on with us are normally, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, lower than the vast majority of the companies out there in the industry. So, we're not like hard sell or any of that kind of stuff. So if you just want to get some information, just, fill out the boxes. The lease owner operator one is easier, just your name, email, and phone number. You'll get some emails over 7 days. They'll give you some basic info, some links to our YouTube videos. At that point, Kevin will get in touch with you. You guys will cover some information. He can send you some sample reports, things like that. So you guys can have that. You can take a look and see how the drivers are, driving, what are they paying for, stuff like that. And you can compare it to your current program, apples to apples. And then at that point, you can decide what's going to actually work well for you or not. So there you go. So get off my soapbox there. Really appreciate you guys in the chat. So let's jump on to the next story. While Alex is reconnecting, some sort of technical issues with him. So I'm going to take this opportunity to jump in and basically say, hello. Let me actually turn off. Let's do this. And then when we see, actually, I'll put it onto this. So if Alex jumps back in, let's see, Alex, or maybe I gotta add him. Yeah, I gotta add him. Show
I'm
him.
here.
There it is. Okay, yeah, I just can't hear you until I check it manually. There he is. There's the man. Well, Alex, I'm gonna cover one more quick story here, and then let you jump in. I know you wanted to run off, but real quick, I want to talk to you guys about Nikola. So. If you guys don't go to my personal channel on YouTube, you guys will actually see many years ago, like 7-8 years ago, I recorded the video. I was invited for a 2-day event when Nikola did their global unveiling event here in Salt Lake City, Utah, for the hydrogen electric truck. So I went there and I filmed some stuff, blah, blah, blah. I asked some questions. I talked and took some pictures with what was his name? I forgot his name. It'll come to me, but really interesting guy. I had a press pass with one of our websites that we own. It's a news site for the trucking industry called truckingnews.us, and so I had a press pass. I still have it. It's like part of my little trucking history thing that I hang up on a wall, and it was really cool to do that. And I recorded some videos. You could actually see the inside of the truck prior to those trucks even being able to move. So there was some really cool stuff. So the reason I bring this up is because I've been following Nikola for some time, and I've actually made some videos about them. One video I was really kind of didn't talk very nicely about the man. Why is his name? It's Travis or something like that. I forget his name. I want to search
with age.
Yeah, that's what it is. It must be the age, man. I'm telling you. Okay, it'll come to me. So, but basically, what they're doing is they've really been struggling. They've been having to do. They recently had a stock split, reverse stock split, which is a scary thing, but. The council had basically agreed on it. And so the delivery and the performance of these trucks, I wanted to bring it up to you because what I did is they're basing it on hydrogen, like 1 kilogram of hydrogen, how far it gets them. And I wanted to compare that to semi-trucks with regular diesel MPG economy. And I was able to do that. So here's what they got. Nikola has delivered 75 hydrogen-powered trucks to customers, and they boast an order bank that should bring in revenue. It achieved better than expected fuel economy during demonstrations, exceeding the projected figures. A full tank of hydrogen allows Nikola's the 3 model, TRE is the way it's spelled, to travel up to 500 usable miles. Now, they had like 3 trucks now at this point. Nothing's been really on the road, and this is like the 3rd model. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean? You get something out there, you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I want to know what his name is. You think you could look him up, man, while you're on there? Just put like, who's the CEO of Nikola Trucks? It's Travis or Trevor Milton. I beat you to it. Trevor Milton. I think that was his name. I knew it. I knew it was going to come to me. So the other thing that they looked at is uptime. So this was definitely really interesting. The Nikola trucks demonstrated high uptime, 92.9% during demonstrations, indicating good reliability. Refueling times are relatively fast, averaging around 22 to 23 minutes, slightly longer than filling a diesel truck, but quicker than charging a battery electric truck. Driver training on regenerative braking also contributes to improved efficiency. And then speaking of fuel efficiency, this is where you guys are probably hanging out for. Nikola trucks achieved 8.13 miles per kilogram of hydrogen during demonstrations. To us Americans means absolutely nothing. So this translates to roughly 9.1 miles per gallon, 9.1 mpg on a hydrogen electric truck using the energy equivalent. A typical diesel truck averages 6.3 mpg according to the North American Council for Freight Efficiency. Now, the more important part is the shareholders and the reverse stock split, because it got to a point where it's like, well, either we pass this or we just go out of business, because the shareholders actually approved the reverse stock split for Nikola in a move to avoid delisting the stock from Nasdaq. Now, Nasdaq and S&P 500, Nasdaq, Dow Jones, they have certain requirements to be listed, and you can get delisted, and you get a 30-day window to raise your price in order to be above $1 when it comes to Nasdaq. Other companies, other indexes or indices have different rules. Nasdaq, where they're at, it's $1. So basically, Nikola's shareholders overwhelmingly approved a reverse stock split. This financial maneuver will artificially raise the share price above $1 per share, the minimum required to stay listed. The proposal passed, allowing Nikola to raise capital for ongoing operations. This is crucial for the company's survival, as it faces challenges like the high cost of hydrogen fuel, which it should not be expensive, it should be cheaper. The board is expected to act quickly on the split to address the delisting threat before the current grace period expires on July 17th. So that's when you can expect this. Now, if
Yeah,
this whole
Jerome
thing
Jones
was,
also asked if the news about a petrodollar we hear is about war. I think it was Vitaly already covered it, but you can always rewind through the video and recheck it over and over again.
yeah, we jumped on that at the very beginning. I wanted to make sure you get that story at the beginning, so the people that start to watch the video, they get what we talked about, in the video. So we definitely covered that in great detail. So I think you would definitely enjoy it. I think you will definitely benefit from it. But we will cover this continuously, because I really do believe that this is not the last time
Yeah, I think
that
the
we've heard
subject
about
we
it.
will have to cover it multiple times. Like it's not going to be the
Absolutely.
first
Oh
time.
no.
Like right now, we Vitaly talked like about like the minimal things that we actually managed from, because there's not much out there for it.
There isn't much
But
information, yeah, surprisingly.
yeah, but starting from tomorrow, I have a feeling that there's going to be much more out there, because a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
people will look into it. There's going to be a big scandal into it. So we'll definitely going to come with more information next Sunday, and we guys going to make even a special video about it. We never know. I don't know yet. But could be a good idea
Yeah,
to
definitely.
actually
That's
cover it
probably
in
what
a
we'll do.
separate video.
Absolutely. That's
But we'll
exactly
definitely
what
going to talk more about it in the next live too, and I also going to look into it a little bit myself.
Absolutely. That'd be really cool. Well, Alex, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah. So as I was saying, like in the past couple of weeks, I prepared this a little bit. I asked left and right, like if they would have a question for a highly experienced dispatcher, what would that be? Like, what was their main question? And some of them are a little bit more common. Some of them are. We have even a question from a newbie that just started in trucking. We have a question by sound that comes from a newbie, but it's actually from a 30-year-old, with a trucker from with 30 years of experience. So we have a little bit of everybody. And the first question was, and this is a gentleman that he was on the road for 30 years, but unfortunately, nobody tried or managed to explain him how does the split brake works and how can I use it for my own benefits. This is a question that a lot of people claim to know how to use a split brake, but they actually don't. So I'll put it in a better perspectives. There are some rules to the split brake, how you can do it. It can be either right now it's a little bit more flexible than what it used to be. Some people might not know that. Right now you can do even a 2/8 split or an 8/2 split, or you can do a 7/3 split or a 3/7 split. The main rule is that the shorter side of the brake, which would be 2 respectively or 3 hours respectively, to be on either sleeper or off duty. This one can be on off duty too, but you cannot move the truck. You cannot be on personal conveyance. You cannot be on anything else. You cannot move the truck at all. All right, and the longer one has to be mandatory on sleeper. Okay, but how does this help me? Well, let me give you a good example. Let's say, for example, you started your hours early. You started at 6 a.m. Maybe you had some problems. You didn't manage to get in time to your delivery, and you're trying to recover. In order to do that, you might deliver a little bit later, and you have to find a late pickup for your next load. That late pickup might not be in a perfect scenario with your job. Maybe you drop somewhere on 10 a.m. You're empty around noon, and your next pickup is like 5 or 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. How do we do that to have hours and also manage to not lose time? There comes a split break. You can do your drop. You deliver around 10. Stay there till noon, At noon, you go into a truck stop, you stay there for 2 or 3 hours, then you head for your delivery, then you finish on sleeper, mandatory on sleeper, no off duty, nothing like that, on sleeper. Otherwise, your hours will not come back. It will result as a violation. It has to be on sleeper. Those rest of 8 or 7 hours, and then next day you can start your day earlier. That's basically the advantage of it. Or the opposite, maybe you have a super early drop, and in order to do that and to not screw up your hours, you can eventually, especially if you know, for example, you're a reefer, you have a drop at 5 p.m. or 7 p.m., for example, or 9 p.m. or even later. Correct. You can use that PC 2 or 3 hours on off duty time, but it can interfere with your split break, because split break has to be done in a certain way in order to be considered legal. Otherwise, it will just result as a violation,
Yeah,
because it's
otherwise
a
it's
very very gray area.
that's what happens. Otherwise.
Thing is, it can be explained, but like in that gray area that you said, it can be explained to the patrol. But if you get caught, the thing is like this: if you catch somebody on the wrong mood, they might take it as a bad, because it's not either good or bad. It's somewhere in the gray area.
Hmm.
So that's why you have to do it by the book, exactly how they say it, in order to be completely clear of it. As I was saying, and like that, for example, you can do, if you have, for example, a late pickup, sorry, a late drop of an early pickup, you can do that's 2 hours or 3 hours break while delivering at the facility. You can put yourself on off duty or sleeper, start your break, drive out of it, and then do the rest of your break of 7 hours or 8. For reefers, since they usually have longer delivery times, you can stay even for 3 hours, and it will help you because it will save you a lot of time. Because nobody sleeps for 10 hours straight. Like, let's be serious.
Nobody, huh? Nobody, huh?
No, I barely sleep 7 hours,
No, you're absolutely right. No, it's yeah, I don't sleep very much either.
and I hit the gym almost every day recently. So yeah,
Ooh,
so that's how
awesome.
it is with split break. If you have any further questions about it, you can always reach us out, and we'll talk about it. There's not a problem. The second question would be, why should I use a factoring company, and why would I pay the extra? I get into this question so often. Don't take it with a grain of salt. I'm not an economic expert. I'm not anything of that.
This is
But I'll
not
tell
financial
you what,
advice.
exactly. It's not a financial advice, but I can tell you the difference in between your ways of getting paid. Happy Sunday to you, James.
James West, happy Sunday. Hey, Alex, if you don't mind, I'm going to jump in on the factoring side because I've worked with so many different companies. I've experienced a lot of trucking, factoring companies, good, bad, et cetera, et
Sure.
cetera. I'm not going to get into all the details of that, but just to specifically touch on that question, why should someone use a factoring company? You don't need to if you have money, right? So factoring is there to create cash flow, right? So if you have a net 30 invoice and you run up, let's say $20,000 worth of gross income that needs to come in, net 30s turn into net 40s because they're always late if they know that you're not doing quick pay and you're not doing factoring. And oftentimes you have to chase after that money, and then they promise it to you, then they put it in an envelope, then they put the envelope on a table, and then it gets shipped out the next Monday, and then it's mail time and delivery time. So if you have a whole bunch of money sitting around, you can cover your diesel, you can cover all your operating expenses, your fixed, your variable expenses, all those things, and then don't do it. You definitely don't need to. But every trucking company needs cash flow. Now, if you want to go to your rich uncle and he's going to give it to you, give you that money for no cost or very low interest, that's the way to go. But factoring is really the only option left over because it allows them to purchase the receivable, and basically that's where the notice of assignment comes in, because it basically changes the payee pays to the factor The broker pays to the factor, not to you, the customer, because the factor's already paid you. So they're getting paid on their receivable. And for that, they're taking money. Now, the other thing you could do is take a revolver. Now, a revolver is a revolving line of credit. You only pay a total interest on the amount of money that's used on the open credit line. So realistically, you only pay for what you use. Now, those are a lot more difficult to get. They're tougher to achieve. And most people will just run to a factor. Plus, when you factor, you're not giving your information out everywhere. Yeah, absolutely. So that's part of the thing. They do file UCC filings that will go under your record. They will, if you have a banknote on your truck or trailer or anything like that, or they will become a primary on there. And some banks will allow it, some banks will not, some lenders. But the bottom line is that, like, I don't factor, and I haven't had to in a very long time. And that's only because I've been in business for a very long time, and I was able to kind of make that work. A lot of people can't do that. Now, imagine you start in the trucking industry during the pop of the bubble, and you have very expensive operating costs, expensive truck, trailer, diesel, all these other things. So you have very high operating costs, and then you're not factoring. Well, where's that money supposed to come from? So you need to be able to do that. Now, the best thing to do is to not factor at all, to not use quick pays, to sit on your invoices, to wait on your invoices, to make sure they're aging properly, to verify with accounts payable for the broker that everything was received, everything's nice and clean, no shadows on it, BOLs, et cetera, and get paid that way. But it's very, very difficult to do that. So that is the reason why factoring is in such high use today.
Yeah. To put it in perspective, like, that's the best way if you can afford it. Of course, we have our guy Tex Williams that works with us, and he's doing a fantastic job that way. And you actually can save a lot of money. Like, if you look at it on a bigger picture, if you look at it on a yearly scale, you can definitely see a little bit more money into your pockets. However, the worst thing, not necessarily, but usually it is the worst thing, would be the quick pay. I'll explain exactly why. If you don't do 30-day pay and you don't do factoring either, here is the problem. A factoring right now, refresh my memory, Vitaly, how much would be on an average?
About 3%.
Around 3%. Okay.
Yep, 3%.
Quick pays average in between 2% to 5%, with some exceptions that I've seen even 7.
Yeah, the highest I've seen was over 6%, yeah. Which is highway robbery.
Let's not put the extreme cases. Let's put it between 2 and 5. That means it's an average of 3%. So we're plus minus there. The problem is, if a couple of weeks you manage to hit more with those that have a higher percentage, one, you will overpay it. 2, quick pay is not as quick as you think. It's not factoring. It can still be 3 days, 5 days, sometimes even 7.
Yeah, quick pay could be over, a paper check in the mail. That could be quick pay. It just means that you're not waiting for 30 days. It could be 14.
Exactly, but it's still quick pay is the worst option ever. And the other bad part about
James West 2%
is, and the other, see, for example, James West is longer into the market. He got himself a good deal, is 2%.
Well, here's another thing. I'm gonna
5% was smart truck smarter.
I'm gonna jump in and gonna actually say, so guys, be very careful. It's not about the percentage. It is to an extent. You can get super cheap factoring. There's companies out there that will give you 2% flat rate on a pre-billed invoicing. Look at their agreements. I have actually talked to a guy who was just, so happy he signed up for a factoring service that was a flat 2%. Once we accounted for his fees, ACH fees, invoice fees, blah 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 blah, there was recourse. There was not a recourse. Money set aside, like a set aside fund. Right now, today's all the words are flipping out of my head. Like a deposit account or whatnot, and all of this stuff. And the problem is, they got initially a cheap rate, but once we accounted for all the numbers, converted that into a percentage basis on a monthly basis for his 1 month, he was paying over 6% in interest. But on paper, it was 2% flat, not even variable. Now, when I started factoring one company and another, I ended up going with the first one that I went with, and he was on a variable rate. And what I noticed is that he was actually controlling how much it was going to take. When I had an England invoice that gets recourse on day 90, ended up just magically going through on day 89. Couldn't have come closer, right? So we paid the most in interest because it was breaking every 30 days. There was an increase in every 30 days. He was into his 90th day, basically, a day 89, so milked the last 30 days of that. 90th day would have been recourse. And it was the fattest fattest load, single load that we had at the time. So it was the biggest dollar amount, and he stretched it out on a variable rate over a period of 89 days. Where's your 2% at that point? There's no 2% at that point. You know what I mean? It's more like 6.5.
Let's say it's somewhere between two. I know people that actually have to. Like for example, I talked with a guy that had to like do something with RTS, for example. That's a pretty good one. I know that people that are longer into the business and have less, let's say, less liability are less of a liability. They get a better rate. So it is totally possible. However, to put it to end up the last point of it is, even if the quick pay would be at the same price and it would be as quick as factoring, which is totally okay. The other problem is not all the brokers have it. You might find a broker that is totally honest. He may be newer into the market, and you check with a couple of companies, you see that everything is good. They're paying it, everything, but they don't afford a quick pay program. So what do? You basically lost on a load because you cannot book it because you cannot afford a 30-day pay. You don't have a factoring, and they don't have a quick pay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
can be a pretty big issue.
And with factoring, the nice thing is, like, you know, if there was a short period of time when RTS would not factor C.H. Robinson loads. Now, those who've been in the industry for a while, they know that C.H. Robinson's going to pay their bills. So what did we do? We had good contacts. We had a lot of loads that were booked under us, under other carriers, under the AFT dispatch name, under the A2C logistics MC number, whatnot for the owner operator. So we had a lot of connections there. We know they're going to pay the bills. And so what we would do is we go to our customers and say, listen, this broker, C.H. Robinson, is not passing credit check. They're going to pay their bills. Do you want to take the risk? And a lot of truckers are like, yeah, man, I'll take it. I know they're going to pay the bill. The problem is that you can't just switch. Like if you're factoring one of those loads, you can't just switch and say, hey, you know, like C.H. Robinson, 2% flat rate, right? Or JB Hunt, 1.5% quick pay. But if you're already factoring, then you can't just switch that, because again, you have a notice of assignment indicating and telling the broker that this is where you got to pay. You can't just come in and say, yeah, actually, no, pay me now, because they don't know. Maybe the factor paid you, and now they're going to pay you, right? So they need the word from your factor saying the trucker has paid off all his bills. He has a zero balance. There's no more, no strings attached. You are welcome to remove us from the list and continue to pay either the carrier or whoever the carrier tells you to pay. But it is no longer us. So you can't just go back and forth. That's a really important part, because, like, for example, why would you want to take a 3% factoring or 2.5% or even 2% when JB Hunt's going to give you 1.5? Then just don't factor those loads. This is the reason why the industry has changed. And in many cases, when our guys are filling out packets, your factoring information is pre-filled, grayed out, and cannot be changed. You know, so even if they have a cheap quick pay, you're going to still pay the higher amount because it's system wide. It gets picked up right away that you're factoring with Apex or RTS or Wex Fleet One or whoever it might be, and they're going to pick it up and just going to run with it. So, you know, you got to be careful. There was one company out there that probably the worst of the worst, and I have a lot of customers that went to them because they have excellent salespeople. They'll sell you the moon, and people fall for it, and they're all wonderful and everything until the ink dries on the paper. And I've already had several people that I've worked with, including customers, who that particular company, whose name I'm not going to mention, still to this day owes tens of thousands of dollars, and they systematically block out any form of contact. They were so bad that they actually had to change the name of the company and, you know, come up with under a new name. If you look at their contracts, the old company information is still there in little pieces and sections because they just weren't very good about cleaning that out, which is really strange. And in many cases, you know, people get burnt, and that company's been in business for well over a decade. When I got started in dispatch, they were already in business at that time when I got started. So they're still around. Great information.
You guys are great at information, great at informing people. Keep up the great work. People, these guys are.
Hey, thanks so much, Richard. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Richard. Thank you so
sir.
much for the appreciation, and we're just trying to give our best. So yeah, make sure you hit that like button. It helps us a lot.
That would help a ton, guys.
People, and
yeah, lots of concurrent views today.
Inform and help more people that might need a certain advice. Because here we talk about things that might be for people that are 30 years in trucking or people that just started. So we're not only dedicated for people that have a lot of knowledge into it or something like that.
Sure.
So, and plus, of course, we have the chat box. Guys, if you have any questions, any curiosities, feel free to ask.
Yeah, just drop them in there. We'd love it. Absolutely. We're always here.
We would
Sometimes we
love
don't
to
have the
do so.
ideas.
If it is something a little bit more delicate, more personal, maybe a little bit more complicated, reach us out and we can talk in private, just the two of us.
Yeah.
We can have a personalized discussion.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Let's go to the third question. It's going to be only 4 questions. This
Yeah,
one is going
absolutely.
to be a little bit shorter, but this is more for the newbies out there that might not understand it correctly, or maybe their employer told them that they can do so. This was properly from a guy that he started. I'm not going to name the company. He started with one of the major trucking companies as a company driver, and his boss, basically his leader, told him to do so. And he asked me if it's okay because he Googled it, and he asked me, "Can I use personal conveyors to deliver a load?" If we talk on a legal level, 100% no. Like you cannot do that.
It's
Personal
not personal
conveyance is made
convenience either.
only.
It's personal
Yeah, I mean,
conveyance.
it's personal conveyance. Like the name itself goes for what it is. So personal conveyance is made only and solely for personal matters. Like if you go to do groceries or something like that, even so, there's some gray areas. Let's say you're on a load, you finished your hours, you want to go do some groceries. If the store that is maybe 10 miles away that you want to do groceries, it's in the same direction with your delivery place, they might consider that you're taking advantage of personal conveyance. It's not legal.
Yeah, it has to be in a direction of the closest safe haven.
Yeah,
So you can't go in the opposite direction if there's one closer to your direction, even if that goes against the direction of your delivery address of where you're supposed to be
correct.
headed. Yeah.
The only way they can actually head towards there if that's the closest one, basically. But yeah, if you're doing it, I mean, I know people that sometimes they use it to do that, but it's very, very risky, even if you're moving in yard. Because I know some people like there are a lot of facilities that have a parking outside and they use personal conveyance from the parking to the dock. It isn't technically it's not legal. I
Hmm.
know some people use it. I'm not recommending it. I'm totally against it. If you want to do it on your own skin, that's none of my business. But you're risking it, and you're risking your job,
Oh yeah.
basically.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
So yeah, 7,900 this week self dispatch. Not bad, and I broke down.
Oh man,
I
that
mean,
sucks.
yeah, the breakdown sucks. The number is good.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. I
However,
mean, how many miles you
that
run?
depends a little bit even how much you did last week or how much you're gonna do next week. Because trucking is not always about this week. Because if it would be like that,
Yeah.
you
Well,
would have called me and I'll tell you, oh, you're making 7,000 a week. But it's not true. That's not entirely true.
yeah.
Yes, we have trucks that have make 75, 78, and 72, but it's not the average. In trucking, it's all about the average.
Oh yeah. It's all about the average in trucking, guys.
Even
I
on the
have on the.
lowest note, even on the highest note.
Yep. And only in trucking can you have an 8-day week, because it conveniently fits the gross numbers too. So,
Or I've seen a new pattern on that side. Actually,
oh
they
yeah.
said that they made 8,000 a week, but actually they made 8,000 in 7 days in within 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Just pick and choose.
It was 7 days.
Just cherry picking. Yeah, makes sense.
But yeah. All
Ah,
right, and
that's
the
good
last
money.
question. This one is a little bit longer. The answer is a bit longer, and this one would be very beneficial, especially for a lot of people out there that they simply don't know anymore what to do. And was this? This was a gentleman that has two trucks right now. He's in pretty big trouble, and unfortunately, as of right now, I would try to do it. He was unsure if he wants to go with a dispatch company or not, and by the time he decided, he went out of business, unfortunately. But he asked me like this: What do I do? What do I need to do as a new carrier to get more freight opportunities? And that is pretty simple. However, it's not going to be a very pink situation, but it's going to be slightly simpler. It's going to help you a little bit. And depends, of course, even how new you are, but there are some general aspects. One would be road inspections. Most brokers right now require one. And I'm not talking about a inspection or an annual inspection. I'm talking about road DOT inspection. So that would be very, very good. It will help you out, especially in your first year. It's gonna be super, super helpful. So whenever you see that there's in a way station or they're just stopping trucks, you can even voluntarily stop and ask them that. They might reject you. Not all of them might not be in a mood to work,
With a grain
but
of salt,
they,
I'm gonna before you like.
yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
always afraid. I want to make sure we don't misinform people. I want to make sure that we're clean on this. Some states will give you a ticket for coming up to a cop and asking them for an inspection. So just be aware. In California, you have to make an appointment with the police officer to stop by at their time, at the appointed time, to be able to get the inspection on a voluntary basis. California requires that. Some of the customers from southeastern states have told us that they were threatened with a ticket. I actually haven't run into anyone who actually received the ticket, but just be aware that some state laws are allowing the DOT officer to kind of beat you up pretty good with a fine. So just be aware. You do need these things. You do want them, and then more importantly, once you get a clean bill, when you get a clean one, make sure you submit it. The cops will submit the bad ones, the dirty ones. Some cops will submit the good ones. Very, very seldom, very infrequently. But if you want to make sure it's done, take a picture, scan it, put it in email, or fax it over to the number in the top left corner of of the sheet that the print off that they give you. In the subject line, if you're emailing, put your USDOT number, your MC number, that it's a report. In the body of the text, do the same thing. Thank them for it. You will see it in a few days. It will show up on your safer. Otherwise, it will not show up most of the time. They just won't do it. So just be careful. That's what I just want to make sure we don't tell people to go out there
No,
and volunteer.
that's a very good
And then
add-on.
they get
I
ticketed.
actually forgot that there are some true. I know that one thing that I would advise that I've heard from other truckers. I know in Michigan they're pretty friendly about this stuff. At least the south side of Michigan, I know some people actually went there and they were pretty lucky.
Yeah.
Like I've heard it from multiple sources from truckers that don't know each other, so it it should be a pretty valid information.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, everything that I'm saying, take it with a grain of salt because this is more of a personal perspective from a dispatcher view. So I'm not 100% right. There are times that I might be wrong. If I am, guys, correct me. It's not a problem. We can, as long as you're here to learn a lot of stuff, but maybe I can learn something too. You never know. Things change.
No, absolutely.
World's fast right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everything's changing. We're the
The
fourth.
second thing would be to not limit your market. This is a very, very sensitive topic that I've touched a lot of times, and people seem to don't understand it. Either if you have a dispatcher, you're dispatching yourself. Doesn't even matter. More you limit your market, less money you're going to make. Like that's as simple as you put it. And the thing is like this. You know, there are certain thresholds, like before 30 days carrier, between 30 and 90 days carrier, between 90 and 180, and then the 1 year mark. In your first 90 days, there should be no such thing as in your vocabulary as, oh, I don't like to go to X or Y or doesn't matter where. I mean, yeah, okay, you can't go legally speaking into some places like Canada, for example, or whatever it is, or Mexico. That's totally understandable. However, if you find a load that goes to Buffalo, New York, and say, "Oh, I don't want to go to New York," well, you should reconsider. Get yourself all the permits. We can even help you with that. Just submit your information and ask for the permits, and we'll explain exactly how to get those.
Yeah, we'll send you an email with all the
Very
info.
very well constructed
Yeah.
email for that will help you a lot.
Yeah,
How
at no
to get all
cost.
those permits
We've had a lot of
at no
people.
cost. Yeah.
We've had some people think that we're actually trying to like sell them something. It's fine. You don't need to do anything. Like I mean, if you want to get a dispatch service, you want to lease on or whatever, you have some questions, we can do business or whatever. But if all you want is just that information on how to, that email comes with the information on how to get those permits, like Alex said, and also the new entrant audit questionnaire. Basically, what are they going to be asking you? 4 pages of what the DOT is going to be looking for. If you want those things, just tell us. That's fine. We will send them to you over email. So it's not hard.
Exactly. And that's the thing. The more you limit your market, the more you're going to lose. And the thing is, your first 90 days, you'll be working with maybe 5 brokers at the best. And they will not give you their top loads either. They'll not negotiate with you.
Yeah.
So the last thing you want to do, like they're putting already not one stick into your wheels. They're going to put the whole basket of sticks into your wheels. The more, like the last thing you want is push yourself more sticks into your wheels. It doesn't even make sense. Why would you why would you sabotage yourself? I know you might not like some places. I know people that no, I don't want to go to North Dakota because whatever reason, or I don't want like to go to Maine. Well, maybe you have to. Of course, this is take it with a grain of salt. And I'm not saying that if you're a new carrier, you need to go everywhere. No, you need to go everywhere as long as it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Make your math, check the market, and if you, especially if you're booking it yourself,
Yeah, and be
check the
be certain that
market
this is going to work.
exactly. And there are more stuff, but that could be explained for the ones who book themselves. But that information can be
Mm-hmm.
found across Google. But yeah. And the third would be choose your services wisely. As again, take it with a grain of salt. Is not an expert into it. It's not a financial advisor or anything like that. But you should consider everything that you do, especially in your first year, everything that you're paying, everything that you're not paying, if it's worth what you're paying or not. All right. Oh, let me see. I actually lost my place. There it is. So, if you want to book yourself, I can tell from now it's a bad idea, except some very, very specific cases. I know some people that can do it properly. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying it is impossible, but it's very, very hard because basically your time is limited. You still have the day still has 24 hours. That will not change because you're good.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you're driving 10 hours a day will affect the way you look for loads, because there are some good loads, especially the very, very good loads, will disappear in a matter of seconds. So if you're not there at that second to book it, it's gone. So basically, you lose a lot of opportunities by booking yourself. Of course, you're not paying. So there is a bright side, but that's the thing. You need to see, okay, I have this guy here, I can do like this, myself, I can do like this. Is it worth it? For example, that's why whenever people call us and try to inquire for our services, I always have a talk with them to see how much are they making, how much are they, for how long they stay on the road, and all those kind of questions. See a little bit if it's a service that is worth it for them, because we don't look for business just to take your money. We're not that kind of company. We've been in business long enough to not be that greedy. We are just trying to find healthy mutual business that both parties benefit from it. Good
Absolutely.
afternoon,
Good
Walter.
afternoon, Walter. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. Lots
Yeah,
of
so
viewers
that's the
today,
thing.
man. Thank
I've
you so
had
much.
cases where they
Hello,
wanted
everyone,
to work with
Texas.
us, but we did a thorough analysis, and we decided it's not a good idea because they were actually doing a good job.
Hey, Tommy.
Most of them had their wives dispatching them, so they were still not self-dispatching. There was somebody else that dedicated a lot of time to it, but they were doing a good job.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna contest that or change that just for the fact of changing, and if we do the same money.
Yeah, that's what happens. In fact, Tex was the one that was actually talking about it. One of the dispatchers that he was working in the past was, kind of a stay-at-home mom, and the problem was that it was during business hours. He'd call in, and she's on the road picking up the kids from school, and this and that, always out of breath. I had a dispatcher one of the first ones that I hired back in the day here, and when I had an office in Mill Creek, where I had her working from home at that point. She'd come in the office, but it was a long drive, and then she had her kid and all this other stuff. So we started working from home, and then so it eventually got to a point where every time I'd call, she was out of breath. Because she was constantly trying to do housework, run around, take the kid from school, this, that. But like you can't do that because there are trucking companies that are paying you money and they're relying on you that you're going to do the very best. Not just like, okay, I got a deal, cool, let's get the Raycon, boom, I'm done for the day, I made some money. That's not cool. Now, if you got somebody who's that's doing that for you, then you may want to reconsider. Are they working? Are they working with you, or are they working against you? Basically, because that's kind of like again working against you. Very much.
Yeah,
So.
and the thing is, right now, I mean, we all are aware that we're in a bad market, and a bad market can be easily mismanaged and lowballed.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if you don't have the right amount of time to book yourself your loads, especially if you're booking yourself, because I want to cover this because a lot of people I hear more, oh, I'm booking myself to save money.
Mm-hmm.
That could be true. But let's see a little bit if you're actually saving money or losing money. And this is just from a personal experience. The most people I've seen that did that, we had even customers that started working with us. They made good money, and then they thought, "Oh, I learned how to solve the mystery of the world, and I'm gonna do it myself." I called one of them properly a week ago. He's out of business. He sold his truck.
Yep. It's a pretty common thing that does happen a lot.
Yes.
Like I've talked in the past, you guys have a lot of operating costs. You guys have a lot of expenses. There are different areas that you can look at in order to achieve a savings. To look at, where am I overpaying? Should I be paying for this? Do I need the service? Am I paying too much for the service? And you have a ton of these categories. But for some reason, truckers, carriers, they always go after the one single revenue source that they have. So they'll say, dispatch charges me, 5%, 7%, 10%, whatever might be the case. We charge 7. And they're saying, well, that's a huge portion of my gross income. I can't just give up 7%. But the truth of the matter is that even if we did our job to the extent that you wouldn't make one extra red cent and it would just break even and you made exactly the same dollar amount at the end of the day, it still will be worth it because you're not the one making calls. You're not the one who's having to negotiate, argue, go back and forth, go through that stress, do the packets, paperwork, look through loads, do all the things that it takes to get these loads. So even if you didn't make one extra red cent, it would still be worth it. Now, the beauty is that we actually do our job and we actually bring in higher dollar amounts and we actually help you guys out. And we do this for a very, very long time. Over time, we've established all sorts of different connections with companies and brokers, freight forwarders, and even direct ships sometimes in some cases. But it's really troubling when you see folks who are struggling in the industry and obviously are trying to make changes, which is important, but then to hit the revenue rather than the cost. It's kind of like the people that are just like, eating donuts and, got the, their health isn't doing Coke and drinking Coke and Pepsi and all this other stuff and like high sugar and like insulin resistance. And then they're, they got the latest iPhone and this and that. And when you say, okay, well, you got to hit the gym and say, oh, I can't afford that. Or they'll spend, let's say, I don't know, every night they'll spend 2 hours watching a Netflix show in a cab, in the sleeper, but they don't have the time to exercise. You see what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, you do. Just turn it off and go exercise and go back and watch your movie. That's cool. No, you just don't want to exercise. It's the same thing like when you say you can't afford it. Well, sure you can. What do you mean you can't afford it? You can't afford to make more money? Is that what you're saying? No, you can. What you can't afford is to continue to pay for crap you don't use. That should be cut out. But you need to know where your costs are.
Well, there are a lot of costs and a lot of services that truckers use on a daily basis, and one of them is indeed the truck dispatch service.
Yep.
But not only. For example, there are truckers that have their own platforms, their own. My webcam went bananas.
Wait, was that you or did I do something? Yeah.
No, it's me.
Oh, is it you? Okay.
Seems like my phone will die very, very soon.
Yeah.
Oh no, it actually died. So yeah.
So you started using Camo,
right now, guys.
I'm glad to see that you're using the software.
Yeah, I'm using Camo.
That's awesome.
So sorry, guys, you're not gonna see me anymore, but I'll still finish all my idea and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, to put it in short terms, whatever service you're making, make sure that it brings value to you. Because, for example, let's say you have a dispatch service, but you also pay yourself for a couple of platforms. Why do you have both at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
There's no point in having both at the same time. You can have both at the same time. Let's say you just sign on with a dispatch service and you're trying to check a little bit if they're doing a good job or not, because you might do a good job, but you don't have the time to. Well, because they know how to do this job properly, but they just don't have the time to, and they realize it enough, brave enough to accept the fact that you can't do everything on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So, but after that, after you gain a little bit of confidence, so that your dispatcher works in your benefit and does everything by the book and all, you can stop paying for that load board. Those load boards are not cheap at all. And even if they are cheap, every single dollar counts in a bad market, guys. Like, for real. These are like base saving skills that you have to do. And in terms of dispatch services and every other service, for example, I'm giving dispatch service a very, very good example to see if it's a good service for you or not. The most important thing, and the one thing that you have to see and you have to look for, is your bottom line. Doesn't matter if you pay 2, 3, 5%, 7, 10, 15. For example, I would pay even 15% if I know that after I pay that 15%, I get more money than I was doing before.
Well, here's
like
another.
If that guy has such a good deal that can cover his cost and maybe even do something extra, or at the worst case scenario, make the same kind of money but take a lot of work out of my plate. Why not?
Well, look at it like this. Let's say dispatch. Oh, what? I need to type in here. I guess we'll have to click on numbers. I just wanted to show you guys a calculator right on the screen, so I just using Google. So let's say dispatch gets you $5,000. Times that by 0.07. Answer's $350, right? So now check this out. $350. How do we clear? There we go. 150 for DAT, right? 150 for truck stop, right? There's your $300. Now it's per month. I get it. So that's that's $75, right? So, but now if you look at it like this, $5,000. Oh, come on. $5,000 times that 0.07, that's $350. So the bottom line is that you think you could find some other things that you're overpaying for you don't need? Because Alex brought up a really good point. You really don't need to. You really don't need to be paying for truck stop, DAT, and like you said, yeah, maybe it's a new dispatch service for you. You don't know if they're going to do well. You don't know what to expect, so you keep your options open and keep some of things going for sure. But don't be throwing money away for no reason whatsoever. It doesn't matter. Help those auxiliary services that you're no longer using. Pay for the dispatch costs. And we're using low numbers here. I mean, you guys have seen our videos. Even in bad markets, our dispatchers have been getting guys, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a week.
Yeah, and even new carriers. We had some new carriers that were touching some incredible numbers.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. We had a few guys. Like Marat hit some. He hit the video last week, which was really cool. And they're pretty new. They're in a tough market too. They're
to summarize
Montana.
Is your bottom line is the one that matters. I actually had a talk with the guy that wanted to work with us, and he was super excited and happy about it. Until he heard 7%. We're talking about a gentleman who was averaging. He was doing all 48 states. He was staying 4 weeks on the road. So perfect scenario, right? Until now, 2 years MC old, so he didn't have that problem either. He was averaging 4,500 a week. And when he heard 7%, he tried to negotiate it to 5 over and over and over and over. And I told him, you're making this kind of money. If I would give you the low average that we have and cut our percentage of it,
you still make more money.
Yeah, but I don't want to pay 5%. That's too much. I can't afford this.
Yeah, you just can't get through that. I mean, if you have that kind of a limit, that kind of limitation, it's like if you work with us, even after costs, you will have a lot more money left over in your pocket, and you will have done none of the work you're used to doing to getting that. And the person is just this blank look, and he says, I can't afford it. Stop, reverse, hold on. What is it that you can't afford? You can't afford to make more money? You know what I mean? Guys, we're not guaranteeing you guys gross. We're not guaranteeing you guys rates. We can't do that. Even if we did, we'd be lying, because there's just no way for us to come clean on that, right? To make it true. But what we do know after years and years and years is that majority of the time, when you're working with most average truck drivers, they might be great drivers, but they're often not very good businessmen, or they're missing some sort of a piece of an education. We have guys who don't know the difference between gross and net income. We have guys who deduct personal expenses as company, cost, and then at the end of the day, they say we didn't make any money. Well, hold on a second, man. Like all the stuff that you purchased, all these things that you did, these are non-qualified purchases. They cannot be deducted, and at best, some of those deductions might be 20% deduction off the total spent. 50%, 40%, 100% in certain cases, like food spent on on your company and people that work for you, things like that, getting together. So there have been some loss, but the fact is that a lot of these things cannot be tax deductible, and yet if you spend that gross as part of the company money, and if you end up with nothing, you have to remember that whatever that you bought is still there. So it's not like you didn't make money; you just spend it before you're able to account for it. So a lot of people do that. AM Courier says, he says, I love watching your content and have seen a few of your videos. I'd like to ask you and get your help if you could tell me the most affordable payroll system. Mostly an affordable way to pay drivers. So to be honest with you, there are some systems. Alex, what was it, the system that we're using for, I forget the names, to build our loads and stuff like that?
What?
What's the software we use for building our loads on A2C side? I keep forgetting the name of it.
No. I forgot.
Yeah.
I haven't been working with A2C for over 2 years.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to get in touch with the guys because we do use software and we do have a lot of drivers and stuff. So we do have software for driver settlements and to be able to do that. Now, on my end, on the CPA side, I have the deposits happening on an automated basis from a checking account to the drivers. As you know, as for company. Like me, my brother, we get an automatic deposit, things like that. Drivers are
if that's what he was asking, because it could be also that he was asking like what would be the best way to pay his drivers, because there's percentage driver, there's percentage pay driver, there's per mile and so on, or a fixed pay or so on. So probably that's what he wanted to ask.
Well, he's asking what's the most affordable payroll system. So I don't think he's asking whether or not he needs to pay cents per mile or a percentage based to his drivers. He's asking about a payroll system. So let me actually show you if. And this is not like I don't actually use them for the payroll, but in other aspects, they've been fantastic. Let's see. Here. So you go to waveapps.com. All right. So one of the things that they have here, where is it? Payroll. Okay. So you can do payroll with them. Very quick setup. I didn't use it. I'm not trying to tell you what. But what to do or which company to go with, but they were fairly inexpensive. They will connect. Yeah, payroll system. I gotcha. So Wave is a fantastic payroll system, completely free. Now this portion of their system, the payroll to actually pay drivers, account for taxes, do your accounting, do all those things, pay your employees, contractors, automatic payroll journal entries, tax payments and filings, self-service pay stubs and tax forms, direct deposits, as well as protecting your team with workers' compensation, blah, 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 blah. The software right here will do it for you. You just have to get it set up. You go with the premium service. There's nothing crazy. If you go look at pricing, it's free. Or if you want, the $16 a month, you build monthly, and they'll take care of it. I think there's a $5 deposit fee on your per check that you deposit to your drivers, but that's it. If you do the annual, you just pay $170 for the year, and you'll have all that. And then here are all the features. Let's see. So depending on what you do, you're going to have your credit cards, blah blah blah. And then this page right here, run payroll. You can actually do it as a free, as part of your free service, and then run it as an add-on, for payroll. And it starts from $20 a month. And I believe that's per person. So if you have, 5 drivers, it can cost you $100 a month, but you're on a free one with a paid add-on. If you wanted to, you could literally run payroll here again from $20 a month. And you could capture all your receipts and everything and take care of all that. And you can also hire a bookkeeper if you needed to, but you can do that anyway, anywhere. But basically, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be some special software. They've been in business, I think, for 15 years now, or 16 years in business. Right now, they have major changes going on at Wave. But those services are still available. They're quite affordable. They're very straightforward. And what's really cool is that you can actually use that software to not only do payroll, but keep track of your operating expenses, keep track of all of your spending with your business checking accounts, credit cards, other accounts that are pertinent. And also you can create invoices through there. You can create estimates through there. You can look at all sorts of tax documents, print offs for your financial life in terms of like, where is the company, your P&L statements can be automatically generated, profit and loss statements. We have a lot of search on our website looking for samples for profit and loss statements, which we have on our website for all the way back to 2015 is when I originally posted that one. It's there. But that thing will do it for you. There's a lot of different features and it doesn't cost anything at all. Vasily Vorobey. What is your dispatch service fee? Our dispatch service fee is a flat rate of 7%, sir. Vasily Vorobey. Awesome. So just be aware you can use that service. You don't have to pay for it, but if you did want to, it's quite affordable. And there's other services out there. There's one free service that I have used in the past that you connect to their database and you build it up, and it costs nothing at all. You just pay for the service fees between the banks to do the ACH transactions. The only problem was that it was extremely complicated software, and eventually I just gave up because I said, this is just too much of a headache. So there it is. Courier, we have the free Wave app, but currently comparing it to U.S. Bank's ACH Director Pay. So that's the thing. I mean, if you're banking with U.S. Bank, that's actually going to work really well for you, especially if you have if your drivers also have U.S. Bank, you're going to have like same day. You don't even have to pay using ACH transfers, because you can do interbank transfers, which are instantaneous. The money becomes available right away, and it doesn't cost you anything. But they have to be within your within the same banking routing structure, right? So the U.S. bank, you, and then U.S. bank is the customer, so or your driver. But generally speaking, you can use any service. Yeah, Wave is awesome, but like I said, you could use their paid add-on, $20 a driver. It's pretty manageable. But there are different services. You have to be really really careful. Like Chase does it as well. They have payroll services, but they have some fees out there on a per driver basis. So if you have 2 or 3 drivers, it may not be a big deal. But imagine if you have 100 drivers, there might be time to pay like a bookkeeper to take care of that on a weekly basis, things like that. So I
Yep.
really hope that helps you.
And the last question to also finish a little bit my thinking, because actually there were 5 questions that I selected.
Mm.
I wanted to avoid this one, but I said let's run it because lately I've actually had a lot of people asking this.
Hmm.
Is this? I want to run a team. What would be the best equipment for it?
Hmm.
Because
We
I
have
know
a
a lot of people that
we have
start
a
off their
video
company
for
want to
that.
run teams because they heard that it's a higher growth and so on, and it's true. But it's a tricky question to begin with. Technically, teams tend to do worse than a solo.
Yep.
However, there are some benefits to it, which is, of course, is cash flow. You'll have much more cash flow that will help you, especially at the beginning, to run your company. You have almost double the amount of cash flow, so it provides a little bit more security in terms of something goes bad. However, think about it and make a very, very wise calculation of how much you're spending compared to how much you're getting.
You remember this
Usually it's
video?
going to be less. So that's the thing. As for equipment, in my humble opinion, would be flatbed, preferably 53. And why it is flatbed is because, I mean, let's put it like this. First would be flatbed, second would be dry van, and the last, and with a very, very big grain of salt, is reefer, and I would highly recommend against it. And not for it, and I'll explain each of it separately. The reason for it is because flatbed loads, most of them, if not all of them, like more than 95% of them, are first come first serve.
Hmm.
And unless there's specified, and very rarely I've seen it specified that cannot be delivered earlier than that day, they're basically, even if they're solo loads, you can do it as a team load and just deliver it 1 day or 2 days earlier. Depends on the length of the load. So that's
Absolutely.
why for flatbed, it's much, much more favorable to run team.
No, absolutely. I
Dry van
mean,
on the other
dry van
side.
as well. The dry van
Go
is
ahead.
a great way to go. This is a video that we actually did several years ago. That specifically, this was 3 years ago. So hence more hair and totally different looking person. But the video was van versus reefer, which is better for a team truck driver for a truck driving, and we covered that as well over there. So I would definitely recommend
Yeah.
watching that video right there, because even though it's 3 years old, it was back when did I do it? January 15th of 2021 is when I made that video. To this day, it got quite a bit of views, 5,000 views so far, and considering that this was 3 years ago, that was pretty good. And I think this video will actually explain to you guys the reasoning behind that, and I think you guys would actually
Yep.
benefit from it.
Uh, Second, and why I classify it as second and not the same as the flood that would be driven is because recently, like before, like 3 years ago when the video was made, probably that's why I wanted to clarify it a little bit.
Hmm.
Back then, a lot more loads for drive-in were first come first serve. A
Hmm.
lot of because there was not worker shortage. All the facilities had more workers. They could manage all the influx of the trucks much
Hmm.
better. Right now, it's not properly the case, and there are much more laws that have strict appointments. That means it will leave less volume for you as a team to run it with a drive-in. But there's still a good volume out there, so don't get me wrong.
It'd be a
True
lot of
team
solo
loads for
roads.
drive-in, there are not a lot of them. So
Hmm.
don't count on them. Right now, they're like true team loads. They're very, very rare to come by. There are some team loads that are out there, but usually those used to be solo loads that were missed, or for whatever reason something went bad, and they transformed basically into team load. But you'll be working, let's say, with somewhere around 60% of the market due to the fact that you're a team. But of course, can you run my flatbed with a 45 capacity on a 12 Western states? to great info and videos, industrial. Technical, we could. However, right now the 12 Western states are in a very big, as I was saying earlier. I don't know if you remember, it's in a pretty big deficit of freight.
I was gonna say, Alex, your
Technically,
audio
we
is going
could.
in and out, and I'm not sure if we're able to understand it because I have them in the headphones, and it seems like there's a real internet problem there. It's very robotic, and it
That's
kind of
very weird.
goes in and out. Yeah.
Do the people hear me well, or?
Yeah, now we can. We can hear you better now. I think maybe you put the microphone closer to your mouth.
That's very, very weird.
Okay. Yeah, it sounds a lot better now.
Probably as also as I was saying, like technically we could. For a more specific number, I'd have to get back to you tomorrow or after tomorrow. I'll have to talk with one of my guys that he's more specialized into flatbed to tell you exactly. But as much as I know, the whole capacity and the whole volume of freight from the western states is went down by a lot. So I have to check. I know for driving a reefer, not sure for flat. I'll have to double check with them, and I can give you much more accurate information. So your best bet would be submit your information to us, so I can have it in my system, and I'll give you a call either tomorrow or after tomorrow, and we can discuss more about it, and I can tell you yes or no,
You actually have a
and
bunch
if
of
the number
calls.
would fit for you or not.
You got a bunch of calls scheduled for tomorrow. We had a bunch of guys come through with some questions, so I got those set up for you for tomorrow morning. So a bunch of guys. One of our guys we want to get in touch with, he wants to get started. And we had another one that needs to redo their packet because of the mistake. So I think Alex is going to be kind of booked up tomorrow probably. But if you guys shoot for Tuesday, Tuesdays and Wednesdays is usually a lot more free. Mondays are usually pretty crazy because everything that's come through after the Friday video for Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, we get blown up really bad. And then on Sunday, Alex is losing his head because he's trying to catch up with everyone who contacted us over the weekend. So thank you, Alex. I no longer have to do that. So no, that's awesome, man.
No worries, no worries.
Definitely appreciate that.
So yeah, and the last one would be, of course, your reefer and why I'm recommending against it. A reefer team has a very high percentage of fail. And the reason for it is because most of the freight that goes uh, through the reefer is scheduled appointments because it's time sensitive freight. Most of it is perishable commodity, it's time sensitive freight, and most of the customers don't want to pay the premium, the extra to get it early through a team. They'll just pay it normally to have it transported normally. So true team loads are very, very hard and very, very rarely around for reefer. Usually, the only case where you actually find them is when, of course, somebody falls off the load and facility closes, and it has to be shipped next day.
Yeah.
But the receiver still needs it in the same day. So
No, you're absolutely
that's
right. So there is that.
yeah. But usually, like somewhere around 80 to 85% of the market of reefer is by scheduled appointments.
Oh yeah, reefer almost every time, almost there, always. And they'll often park you.
Rarely you're gonna see reefer load that is first come for serve both sides, like close to 0%.
Yeah, I mean, unless you're like running locals or something about that. Guys, I want to take this opportunity to ask you guys to please have hit the like button. Today we actually hit the highest numbers we ever had in the live concurrent show where we have concurrent viewers. So man, really, thank you guys so much for that. If you guys could hit it, that would really, really help a ton because it's very rare where we have the opportunity to have this many concurrent viewers who stick around, who are sharing the videos, who are hitting the like button, who are actually asking awesome questions in the comments. This is what we do this for. So really, really super would be helpful if you guys hit it. We got only a couple more stories to cover with you guys, and I'm going to try not to go long today. I know you guys have the rest of the day to enjoy. Alex, yeah, go ahead, man. I just wanted to jump in and ask him that.
That was the only thing that I wanted to add on the reefer side. Eventually, if you keep insisting on doing that, your best bet would be to run it as a super solo. Like you can do 600-700 mile runs a little bit more easier, and basically you would do a little bit more money than a solo, but not even close to running to the same numbers as a team. So take it in a very, very deep consideration. Like, what are your costs? Like, if you're a husband and wife, yes, that could be done, but you still have to think about the fact that there are two mouths to be fed, not one. The truck still consumes fuel, so that those costs will be the same per mile, so it's not going to change. Your only option would be there. Yes, there are some loads. For example, I don't know. There's 700-mile load. It picks up this morning, delivers tomorrow morning. That normally for a solo would not be even possible legally speaking, and you can take advantage of that and negotiate a little bit more. But those
Yeah.
don't come up very often. Market is not filled with those, and your best bet if you want to run a super solo, uh, like a team as a super solo on a reefer, would be to have a dispatcher that knows exactly what they're doing. We had that in the past, and they were actually doing good money, and they were happy. They were a husband and wife back in the past. But that's the thing. Like, first of all, on that kind of equipment and running as a super solo, it requires a lot of time on the dispatching side and a lot of work on the dispatching side because it's very, very hard to basically search through all the market for those kind of opportunities because that's the only way you're going to profit.
Well, also be aware that the general rule of thumb, especially in the down market right now, is that whether you have a van as a team or a flatbed as a team, Alex asked about that or mentioned that, you will generally gross more money, but you will net less money. So just be aware of that. Just on Friday, I had a gentleman that called in. He said, "Look, I'm looking to run a flatbed team, and this is this gave me the details." And I told him up front, I said, "Look, that's fine, and we've done it. We still do it. We'll continue to do it. That's completely fine. You just have to look at the numbers very, very closely. How much are you paying your drivers? How is this going to actually function? Are you going to be one of the drivers? Are you going to pay them on a percentage basis? Are they open to the different market areas? Are they a hustler? Are they going to make it? In terms of under your supervisorship, are they going to actually deliver on time? Are there going to be problems, things like that? The reason for it is because generally you're going to put on a lot of miles. The truck doesn't stop. There's going to be a lot of freight. Dispatch will work on all cylinders. They'll be firing on all cylinders. They'll get you the freight. There'll be a lot of solo freight. We'll get you guys out there. The only problem is that you're going to burn a lot of diesel. You're going to have light freight, heavy freight, medium freight, dirty freight, good freight, bad freight. There's going to be all sorts of mix of all kinds of stuff. And then by the end of the month, you're going to notice that the amount of cost that you've had to put in order to do that resulted in a larger income, larger gross income, and apples to apples, a solo versus a team for comparable pieces of equipment. You're going to see, of course, the team's going to not only gross more, but will net more. It will net more. But when we're comparing if you ran two solos versus one team, the two solos will blow it out of the water, the team. And you'll have a lot less headaches too.
Correct. And plus, not forget to take into consideration the fact that let's say you have a good team, you have a strong team that runs like 24/7, and they're all really strong, they're dedicated. Take into consideration also the fact that you're putting a lot of stress on the truck because a truck that runs 24 hours a day, it's much more stressed and it's much more exposed to sometimes breakdown or require maintenance or so go on. A much more frequent change of tires, for example, because you put more miles on them.
Yeah, just PM, preventative maintenance, oil changes, brakes, everything. Of course, going to be under stress. Do keep in mind one other thing, though. This is something that I think is very, very important and it's often missed. And I know Alex knows the stuff, and this is something that I brought up with the gentleman that just mentioned earlier, is that you have to remember that you have your fixed operating costs, and then you have your variable costs, right? So as long as the truck is moving, you're burning diesel, that's a variable cost. But if a truck is sitting and parked and you're not driving it for a month, but it's insured, that's a fixed cost because whether you drive or not, you have that cost. Now, the beauty of this situation is that let's say it takes you 1,000 miles to break even. Well, guess what? After anything over 1,000 miles, we'll continue to incur variable costs. But we should also remember at the same time that the variable cost of your fixed cost. So the more miles you put on after your break-even point, your fixed costs only reduce on a per mile basis, right? So it only makes sense to drive more past your break-even point because the rest of it's going to actually have not only be profit, but as you increase those miles, more of that gross converts into net income because you're slowly paying off that month's portion of your fixed cost. The variable cost will add on, but you're also getting revenue for the variable cost, right? You're not just driving around the country for no reason, hauling an empty trailer behind your back. So you're getting paid for that. And so that's the reason why it's such a problem when you have owner ops come to us and say, or carriers come to us and say, I want to work Monday through Friday and back home on the weekends. Well, you bust your butt for a week just to cover your operating costs in a week, and then you come home on a weekend. Those 2 days are going to be the ones that are going to make you money. Adam Woods, hey, how you doing, man? Thanks for stopping by, Adam. Good to see you, man. I think you were here earlier, weren't you? Or maybe I just missed you because you changed your profile picture. I could swear it was different before. So that's the thing. Like you can't have you can't have your cake and eat it too unless you actually stay in a row. Then you can have the cake, you can eat it too, because that differential is going to be your money maker. So there's no point of busting your butt for 5 days just to come home, park the truck, and say, great, I covered my operating costs and now I broke even. I made no money at all to take home. No, what you should have done is stayed out there, because if you would have stayed out there for, let's say, 3 weeks, that would have been absolutely optimal, because by that time your operating costs, your fixed operating costs, would have been at the lowest point they would have been during that month. And I say 3 weeks because with all the resets and everything, you're going to lose about a week and a month on doing all the resets and stuff, right? And assuming that you're running fairly efficiently under dispatch and you're getting top dollar freight and everything, your operating costs are actually going to reduce considerably and much quicker based on the gross amount that you're going to bring in. But as soon as you cut it off right there and you go home, that's it. You just screwed it all up. You know what I mean? You're going to have to, basically what's going to happen is you're going to have to increase your gross revenue during that period of 5 days in order to be able to cover your both fixed and variable costs, in order to have net income that you're going to be able to take home, which is really tough to do in this market. So I hope that's clear. I hope that makes sense. I really hope that makes sense. Guys, thank you so much for all the viewers. Man, I am blown away. Thank you guys so much. Please hit the like button. That would super help. I can't wait to see the numbers of people watching the review of the video, like reminding it. I think it's a good video. So Alex, sorry if I cut you off, man. I just had to jump in on that one. Because...
No, that's very good. And actually, to put a note on that is that I've actually encountered quite a lot with people calling us and asking for more information, and this and that. But to put it in a much simpler words, if you have a semi with a sleeper, you're supposed to stay on the road, not to be home daily or every weekend.
Yeah, get a day cab for local
are not
runs.
meant for that.
Yeah, if you got a sleeper, you should sleep.
Let's say in a very good market, but even then, let's say if the market would have been fantastic, like let's say how it was 3 years ago with COVID, or 40 years ago. I don't even know how much passed. Even then, like when a good market start, you should run even harder actually, because the bad market will come again, because it has always been like that: good market, bad market, good
Excellent
market,
point.
bad market.
Excellent
When
point.
a good market hits, you should run even harder and put money on the side as a backbone for when the bad market hits, to be able to cover yourself.
Alex, excellent point. No, you're absolutely right.
That's the thing. If you want to be home, I don't know, every weekend or something like that, local I can use the sleeper berth.
The split sleeper.
No, that's totally fine, James. That's totally fine, and you can do a local and be home more often. However, think about it. Your operating costs are pretty high. The fact you're running a sleeper, because a sleeper will not have the same operating cost and maintenance as, for example, a box truck or a Sprinter van or so go on. And if you look on your net income, you might be with a semi you might make slightly more, but not all the time. Because if something goes south, something goes bad, your costs are going to be much higher to fix them.
No, I mean, here's the thing. My brother, we run local contract freight here in the state of Utah, and we use a sleeper truck. We've used sleeper trucks all the time for that. When we used to run OTR, we had company drivers.
I'm talking about spot market.
No, for sure.
Like
I was just, I'm talking about like James West. So like what I'm saying is that it's completely fine. What he's saying is that taking advantage of the sleeper berth reset split while doing locals, and you can, but keep in mind, depending on your locals and depending on the starting position of your home base of where your truck is kept and where you start your day, you actually have a paper log amendment which is allowed for you to run as long as you are within, I believe, 300-mile radius as the crow flies, right? So from here in Salt Lake, it's from here to about St. George. It's about 305 miles there, 305 miles back, I believe is what it is. So it's just a little bit outside of that. So you could actually be running on paper. I get stuck at the port for a couple hours, and I have a pickup. An APU. Has an APU. Yeah, that APU will save you. That'll save a ton of fuel and everything. The only problem I have with APUs is sort of dang expensive, and then by the time you end up covering the cost of the APU, it starts to have issues with it, and by that time, you get your 15 cents back. It used to be a lot more cost effective. Nowadays, people are finding other ways to save money, but APU is a big deal, definitely. Awesome. Alex, well, if you have nothing, if you have anything else, yeah, I wanted to cover a couple of stories. If you guys don't want, and I wanted to. The reason I brought up this article in the back here, this article I was really hesitant about publishing it. So it's on our blog now. The reason. If you look at the dates and stuff, I basically quit writing for about almost a month about the stuff. Now, this article was sitting in my pending box for quite some time. And the reason for it is because it was heavily researched. As you can see, all these blue lines are links pointing out to different, not only on our side, but different places. All of these things, there are links throughout the entire article, different sections, and all of these things are pointing to some sort of a useful piece of content that will be able to help you based on a subject like truck dispatch services, owner-operators aiming to elevate their profit margins, and et cetera, et cetera. Plus, we have our videos, we have all of this stuff. And again, I took the time to go through this. So if you guys get a chance, you guys can take a look at this. This will kind of give you an idea of why truck dispatches are important. Now, the other story right prior to that was, is trucking worth it in 2024? And we kind of covered that as well, the current state of trucking industry, market trends, financial consideration for truckers, the future of trucking, financial benefits of running with AFT Dispatch. And of course, if you have questions after reading that, or if you want to get started, just fill out any of these forms. So I will say that. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, this is the time to get yourself a truck dispatcher out there. So definitely would appreciate it if you guys feel like you can benefit from that. But I honestly say you guys can get more stuff from the trucking videos here, and that should improve your business and your positioning in business. And like I said, all the videos are here. You guys can get them on our channel or just watch them right on our webpage. So it's all available. A lot of useful content. Like this right here, this video right here, the annual profit and loss for owner operators. It's one of the videos that got very few views for it. And yet, it's one of the, I would say, is probably one of the best videos that we have on here in order to help truckers actually plan for retirement and making sure. Well, the retirement video I'll show you in a second, but that one is to get an idea on how to calculate and look over your operating costs. We actually show you a spreadsheet, break down the numbers, and actually present to you guys, and you guys can do the same exact thing. There's a lot of templates out there that you can actually kind of configure for your own benefit. As I look for this video, if maybe, hopefully I'll be able to find it for you, because this is another video that I was hoping to show you guys. That was a good one. I wanted to show you because this would be something that you guys would actually benefit from, and it talks about some of the financial instruments. Now you might think, why are you talking about financial instruments in this crazy market, Vitaly? And there it is, truck driver retirement. Important video, traditional IRA versus Roth IRA. Don't skip this video if you are a truck driver. What owner operator truckers need to know. So basically, again, another video that did not get a lot of views, but that one talked about retirement. Now you might be thinking, why are you talking about retirement, Vitaly? We're barely able to make ends meet. And I completely understand. I get it. But, there's always difficulties, always times. But like I said, in many cases, people will say, I don't have the time to exercise, but they watch Netflix in a cab, one movie every night. So they have time to exercise. Some people say they don't have the money to eat healthy, but, they stuff their face with sugar and donuts and Coke products and stuff like that, right? So it's a choice. So realistically, if you can cut out a couple of things and set aside, like let's say an IRA, Roth IRA, 401k, 403b, whatever you might be having, or just maybe some sort of a savings account, maybe some sort of a vehicle that will save you, that will make you money or grow, or tax deferred or tax advantage, whatever might be the case. All of that's covered in that video. The problem is that people aren't really looking at that, because it's one of those things where it's like, well, that kind of stuff goes over my head, it gives me a headache, I'll deal with it at another time. You won't deal with it. You have to go, you have to watch, you have to learn from other areas, figure out these things, figure out who your broker is going to be, figure out the program, how are you going to do these things, meet with whoever you got to do, watch more videos, learn more stuff, whatever it is that you got to do, because this is your financial life. That's your retirement. This is the reason why in the trucking industry we have like old timers out there that can barely walk. They got crutches, this, that, completely destroyed. Back don't work, lungs don't work, nothing works, and he's still driving the freaking truck. And it's not because he's such, loves trucks so much, and he wants to be out there on the road. It's not because of that. It's because he has to run. So what I'm saying is that, create a program, create ways for yourself to set aside money that will grow, and that will actually put you in a very in a better position at time of retirement. So if you're old, decrepit, bad health, whatever might be the case, that you're not reliant like, okay, well, if I can't drive anymore, then I can't exist anymore because I can't afford the cost of living. You don't want to be in that position. And that's what happens. Now, if you and I had done that 20 years ago or 30 years ago, we probably wouldn't have to drive today. because we would have been able to retire now and we would live on interest. You know, back in the day at market averages, all you had to do was invest $1 million and you could live off of interest, because the interest would actually give you, you know, about 140K a year, you know, because we were averaging about 14% market driven. So I can live on 140K. I can live on 70K. I can live on less than that. And especially when you're like, oh, well, you don't have to work because this money is just coming in. Well, someone did that on time. They set aside their money and they were able to do that. So again, it's up to you guys. Do what you want to do, but the information's out there. And I'm just always very surprised that people are more interested about videos about pineapple on pizza versus you know, something that's actually useful for the trucking industry. So, you know, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm not trying to give you guys crap or anything like that. I know your life is hard enough as it is. I get it, guys. Please don't, you know, don't shoot the messenger.
Yeah. Vitaly's getting old and thinking about retirement. That's exactly what it is there.
Vitaly's not thinking about retirement. Vitaly's just getting old. That's all it is. Just end the sentence there. Yeah, Alex and I have a pretty good relationship. We're just always giving each other crap. So that's the way it should be. You know, I'm waiting for him to age a little bit more, you know, and gracefully, and then I'm gonna talk to his wife and say, you know, Alex is getting old. Have you thought about retirement?
I'm much younger than you, and we still look like we're the same age.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's either a compliment for you or not so nice thing about me.
No, that's awesome, man. No, it's kind of funny. It just all depends. My brother is 5 years older than me, but I look 10 years older than him. So it just kind of depends. Well, anyway, guys, quick segue. Again, as mentioned before, dispatch services, owner, operator, lease programs. If you guys have any questions, you just go to aftdispatch.com, click one of these buttons. That one works for you. Fill out the info. We'll get in touch with you. Myself, Alex, or Kevin will get in touch with you, or maybe one of our other guys will get in touch, and we can cover all the information. Moving on to the next story. And the reason I wanted to cover this story is because we've talked about AI, we've talked about C.H. Robinson, and we've talked about, you know, fraud in the industry and different kind of practices and things like that have been going on over the years. So I thought, let me put this together, because C.H. Robinson's president came out the other day, Jordan Graft, I guess president, CEO of, not C.H. Robinson, what am I saying? Highway. But C.H. Robinson is a part of this, as we'll cover. But the reason I wanted to bring up Highway is because we've been having increasingly more and more issues with Highway. I'm sure Alex will tell you that it's become problematic, where we can't, you know, we have drivers who can't access the software. I can't access it. We've tried we've tried accessing it from, you know, dedicated IP addresses. We've tried using remote desktop environments. That hasn't worked. We've tried using VPNs. We've tried using proxy servers, and we've tried a combination of all of the above, and nothing worked. I got in touch with the top contacts at Highway. He was actually a contact that was recently hired on to Highway to help them with their programs, but he actually came from FreightWaves. His name is Luke. You know, we really weren't able to get anywhere, and then he kind of disappeared, and we weren't able to take care of any of the stuff. And Highway is creating a roadblock because qualified carriers, U.S.-based companies, dispatchers who are located in the United States. You know, I'm here in Salt Lake City. We got guys in Chicago. We got guys in Lincoln, Nebraska, and a couple offices that we have over there. And they can't access the system because it keeps throwing us off. Then you have the whole issue with Carrier Assure giving good, clean carriers an F rating, and then it's not going anywhere. So that's why I wanted to cover this one, because John Graft, the CEO of Highway, identifies a significant rise in fraudulent activities within the trucking industry. So basically what he's saying is that legacy methods of carrier verification based on a few emails and basic documents are no longer sufficient, and that freight brokers are a prime target for fraudsters who exploit various channels like insurance, ELDs, and email phishing. And we've seen it all. We have seen email phishing, we've seen insurance frauds, we've seen all sorts of different methods and, you know, and fake rate confirmations and all sorts of garbage out there to just basically burn bridges and screw over people. So Highway's solution, hopefully they have a solution. Highway offers a carrier identity engine that tackles the digital identity challenge in the trucking industry. This aims to streamline onboarding while mitigating risk for brokers and verifying carrier information. Now, it all sounds good on paper, but again, like I said earlier, we're running into problems where their own system doesn't allow us, US-based company, to be able to actually use the system. We've actually had people say, you know, our dispatchers contact the driver and say, listen, do me a favor, can you try to log in? Like, I'm going to send you a link. Can you try to log in? And a driver somewhere at a truck stop, somewhere in the country, and they can't access it because the system thinks that they're outside of the country. Well, if your system makes that kind of mistake and you're cutting out all these companies, and you're cutting out all these trucking companies from getting a load because your system is screwing up, then you need to get on that. And it's been like that for months, many months. I can imagine how beat up a lot of the carriers are getting out there. What they're saying is that there's a high cost of fraud. Experts estimate that identity theft, double brokering, and other types of fraud cost the trucking industry over $100 million annually. And they're looking at a layered security approach. Graft emphasizes the need for layered security solutions. This goes beyond basic carrier approvals to assess sustainability for specific loads based on factors like cargo type and value. I would approach it from the system level of like how network engineering does it. It is 7 layers, I believe. If we can have a multi-layered security approach to verification of carrier identity prior to booking a load, that'd be fantastic. But we need the system to freaking work. You know what I mean? So what they're saying is balancing security and efficiency. Highway aims to reduce friction in a carrier-broker relationship. While high-value loads require stricter verification, low-risk loads can be processed more quickly and avoid hindering business operations. Well, I'll tell you this. Highway, if you're listening currently, while aiming to reduce friction in a carrier-broker relationship, you're only creating more of those problems, and you're tying in dispatchers into it who are really struggling to help the carriers that have hired them to do the job. Not
only even the carriers themselves, like a lot of them can't do it themselves.
Exactly.
Like, it's not even about this, like even the carriers themselves.
100%, Alex. Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying. Like a lot of times we'll even contact say, look, maybe something on our end. Can you try to access it? And the trucker out of the truck, he'll be like, man, I can't access it. The system's telling him not let me in. And it's like, okay, well, how is he supposed to get set up with a broker that wants to sell him the load, but we can't get through the highway system, and it's a third-party system. So I can't do anything. Alex can't do anything. The carrier can't do anything. The broker can't do anything. And you know what I mean? So who's to answer? Highway, who doesn't answer phone calls or emails? Carrier 411?
Oh yeah.
Carrier Assure? Like who's going to be doing all these things? Because all they're doing is taking money, but they're not actually taking care of the other side. Like there's 2 sides to that coin, right? There's the carrier and the broker. So they're taking care of the broker, but the carriers can get set up. So how does that benefit the broker? How does that benefit the shipper? How does that benefit the customer? How does that benefit anyone except Highway? You know what I mean? So here you go. So Graft highlights Highway's focus on empowering brokers. Their platform streamlines compliance processes for brokers, allowing them to focus on high-risk loads and ultimately improve their service to shippers. Graft acknowledges that fraudsters constantly adapt their methods. Highway solutions are designed to stay ahead of these evolving threats. Again, I hope so. I wish you guys the very, very best in that sense. Now, I also promised you guys C.H. Robinson, mentioned C.H. Robinson, and what C.H. Robinson is doing, they're embracing generative AI for logistics efficiency. I've been looking forward to this, not in terms of who's going to be booking freight and computers are going to be talking to humans and computers are going to be talking to each other and we're going to cut out the entire industry. No, not from there, but strictly from the analytics point of view and being able to use this to our advantage for the advantage of carriers that we dispatch. So what they're actually saying is this. They're trying to learn from the past. Megan Orth, C.H. Robinson executive, compares generative AI to the emergence of APIs. Now, if you're not in the tech, API is called an application programming interface, which is basically a way for you to connect to that interface and to be able to actually make the software do what you want it to do at a distance, right? So you don't have to have a system here. You can have multiple different APIs. And nowadays, pretty much all the major companies have APIs. We're running this thing right now via API. So this was going back like a decade ago. Now, initially viewed with skepticism, APIs transformed the industry by enabling real-time data exchange. Similarly, Orth believes Gen AI or generative AI holds immense potential for solving previously intractable problems in logistics. So what they're looking at is this, the intern problem or analogy. Orth uses the metaphor of a summer intern to explain generative AI. Just as an intern needs training, general AI tools require data to become proficient. Traditionally, logistics tasks involve gathering data from various sources. Orth envisions generative AI streamlining this process, limiting the need for employees to constantly switch back and forth between data points. Now, when it comes to C.H. Robinson, what they're saying is this. Following a leadership change focused on technology adoption, C.H. Robinson is actively implementing generative AI solutions. And now for the pilot test and user feedback. C.H. Robinson has implemented a structured approach to generative AI adoption. They begin by testing applications with a small group of customers, 1 to 2, gradually expanding to 20. Customers actively participate in the process by providing feedback over a tryout period. Guys, this is how it all starts. So the competitive advantage, as Orth says, is that it positions C.H. Robinson as a leader in generative AI implementation, differentiating them from competitors who may be skeptical of the technology. Orth emphasizes that successful generative AI adoption requires more than just technology. It necessitates a cultural shift where business leaders actively participate alongside data scientists and tech teams. So ultimately, the feedback loop comes down to this. An essential element of generative AI success is continuous in a feedback loop. User input helps refine the AI model, leading to ongoing improvements. Unlike traditional coding, general AI updates happen in real time through new data integration. Well, I got news for you. What's recently been found is that because humans are stupid and because AI feeds on human data that we give it, we're actually in a destructive phase and basically in a degradation. It degrades over time because it's GIGO. In computer tech, we call it GIGO. Garbage in, garbage out. You can't expect good things if you keep feeding yourself a crap. You're not going to be very healthy. It's the same thing. If you put garbage information in, you're going to get more garbage information out. And this is what generative AI is turning into, because it's now reading articles that are generated from trash because people don't read anything. They just want to spit out a bunch of crap that they can rank for on Google and get more clicks or whatever. But they don't really care. They don't read the information, this and that. And then AI goes and reads that crap, and it becomes this endless feedback loop of trash. And I think ultimately that might be what ends up happening here, unless they have some sort of specialization. Because when they do specialize, it does really well. So they had medical AI, right? And was able to pull out and save lives already by looking at X-ray imagery, radiologic imagery, and be able to find things within the images, like cancer cells or whatever. I'm not a doctor, that was missed by doctors, by those reviewing those images. Hey, I welcome that. I absolutely welcome that. But when you're going to start getting into the trucking industry, and you're going to be trying to make decisions that are driven not based on knowledge, but based on what people are doing on a basis, then you're going to get into the same feedback loop of constant degradation of data quality. And I probably wouldn't trust that system unless by then they figure out how to get around that. So, that's all I got for you guys today. We were able to, wow, look at that. It's exactly 2 hours. So I guess I kept my word. Awesome. Look at that. So Alex, you still with us?
Yep. I'm
awesome.
Here. I was listening.
Awesome.
It's an interesting take that C.H. Robinson is doing, but they have to put a lot of work into it. And if they want to do it properly, they should never go for the cheap solution. Like in terms of AI, I've mingled a little bit with it, and I'm playing a little bit with it, and it's definitely very, very interesting. But the thing is, and this is a very, very important thing, they have to program it properly, and like review it constantly in order to, as you said, not get fed up with trash. Because if you feed an AI with trash, you cannot unfeed it. You cannot take it back. You need to reset it totally in order to do that.
Exactly.
So the training phase of an AI, and when you want to end the training phase, it has to be constantly monitored.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot of money to put in to make it proper.
Yeah, there's a lot of computer cycles and costs a lot of money. So you're absolutely 100% right. I mean, I'm definitely excited to see where it's going to go. There are definitely a lot of benefits to it in terms of route planning, in terms of planning your runs, looking very quickly and reviewing previous data, historical data, be able to help you make better decisions. I'm all for it. But there are certain things that, they should tread lightly and be very, very careful. So with that, guys, I think I'm gonna just shut off. Awesome show. Alex, thank you so much for stopping by despite the camera problems, tech problems, and whatever else. I think we had a great show. Lots of viewers today. I'm gonna ask for one last time, guys, if you guys could please smash the like button. As always, guys, if you have a trucking company, if you're a leased down owner operator, we handle both. You work with the same dispatchers. We handle everything in-house. Lots of happy customers. You guys can take a look. I don't know if I had it on. Oh yeah, I do have it here. So if you go to our website and you actually go to let's say truck dispatching under service, here are some of the customers that we've had that I've kind of put some on here. And in fact, if you even just Google us and just put let's say AFT dispatch, let's do it like this. It'll pop up and you'll see that we have a ton of, we have some reviews. I guess we lost some reviews, but we have a 5-star review, 4.9 out of 5 with 14 reviews. And you guys can actually see a lot of people. I respond to everyone as much as I possibly can. And people are, saying a lot of good things. Like they're, best in the business, the other reviews. Our great dispatcher Vitaly is the best to find the best paying freight online. Business is thriving thanks to AFT and Vitaly. Would highly recommend any carrier struggling to find decent rates. There's Zach. In a really down market, Vitaly's keeping me and my business afloat. I'm grateful for his guidance. Would highly recommend working with them. Zach Putman. So guys, there's a number of those, and because we have multiple offices, we have these are all separate profiles. So you'll see that consistently, even under other profiles, you're still going to see very good remarks, very high ranking, and very good reviews and scores. So you guys are, I'm super happy to be, to be able to talk with you guys, take care of this stuff for you, help you guys out, and hopefully, we can all kind of benefit from this. If you guys would please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you would do so, and wish you guys a wonderful rest of your weekend. Certainly appreciate you guys just stopping by. Sorry about last week and sorry for being late today, but I think we made it happen today. I think we had some good stories, some really good commentary, and I look forward to seeing you guys next Friday for the weekly videos. If you get a chance, please look at the last week's video. It didn't get a lot of views, but I think it's an important video talking about big oil and how they basically stole 1/3 of all their profits from us, the consumers, and now they're getting sued. And the question is, well, how's that money ever going to come back to us? Because it's strictly robbery. So take a look at that video. It's fairly short. The first portion is only 5 or 6 minutes, and it really lays it out. So if you get a chance, the Google algorithm didn't do us any favors on that video, but you guys can manually go in there and take a look at that. So again, thank you guys so much. Please, as a last resort, as a last request, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. If you could share it, even better. And I'll see you guys next Friday, and then after that, next Sunday. Have a great weekend, guys. Alex, you as well, sir. Thank you so much.
See you guys. Yeah, and don't forget to go to the beginning of the video for those that didn't catch up the beginning with the Petrodollar.
Yeah. Rewind the video to the beginning, and you'll see that we covered that as the very first portion of the video. So thank you guys so much, and we're out. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.